GNT show is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. These are the voyages of the GNT show. Our continuing mission to explore Star Trek storytelling, to seek out new worlds and interesting characters, to bowl we got where no show has gone before. Live long and prosper, bitches.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the G&T Show, episode 228. I'm Terry Lynn. To my right, your left, is a guy who's got some holes in his head, Gettysburg 7.
Hi. Look at Terry. Is she pretty?
Thank you.
She is on my left, your right. Wearing like a sash and some shoes.
I like this, Nick.
And a tiara. Oh, wait, that's Mike.
Wow.
Good morning, everyone.
I used to like this, Nick.
Good morning from Vicodin Central. It's Gettysburg 7.
Yay.
Good morning.
Good morning. And there she is across from me, wearing her powdered wig with her judicial robes. It's Jesfa.
Resistance is kosher.
I like it.
Is that a winner from
that
the
a winner?
contest? Is that a winner?
I don't know. It might be. I'm still trying to. I'm still trying them all on for size.
Okay.
That's what she said.
That's a good winner,
Resistance
though.
is kosher.
And look who just wandered in the studio. It's Terry's beard. It's out. It's because you're Vance.
Good morning. How is everyone today?
Man, he's got like a
Doing
panty
well.
melter
Doesn't he?
voice going
Doesn't he?
on.
I know.
It's like Velveeta.
A beard and a voice? Now you know.
I'm making that theater degree pay off.
We call him Velveeta.
He's smooth and
The
meltable.
velvet cheese.
The velvet cheese.
Oh my god, I've got a nickname.
That's awesome. Good morning,
It's
everyone.
been a week.
Oh my goodness.
What did you do this week? Coffee clutch.
Oh my goodness. It has been a week. Let's start off with you, Nick. What'd you do this week?
I had 3 wisdom teeth pulled on Friday.
Hence the holes in your head.
Hence the holes in my head. Hence the Vicodin that I'm currently taking.
Gotta
Sun-
love that stuff.
Look how pretty Sun is.
Is she the one with the bazooka?
Yes.
Yeah, she is.
What an efficient way to remove your socks.
Arkansas, man. Arkansas. Or Kansas.
But sure, you have to, run for half a mile to go get them.
Why would you need to go
boy.
get them?
'Cause-
You
Don't
know,
need him anymore.
True.
one of my roommates in Iraq, this is a true story. He was an intelligence and he was a photo analyst. And I would notice that every night he'd come home and he'd be getting ready to do something and he'd take off his socks and throw them out. So finally I said to him, I said, "Room dog, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I don't want to turn into my socks to the laundry because I don't know if I'm going to get mine back. So I just buy a 12-pack of white socks, and then when I'm done with them, I buy a new pack." And I was like, "You're like Jerry Lewis. What's up with that?"
That's cute. That's cute.
Wow.
So anything else that you did this week, or did you just prep for the dental work?
I don't
Yeah.
remember, to be
Yeah, okay.
honest. Oh, I finished, yesterday I finished Chamber of Secrets,
Yay!
and so I'm starting The Prisoner of Azerbaijan today.
Oh my God, you're gonna love that book.
And,
This is where they start getting so good.
but I have to tell you that so when I went to get the teeth pulled,
Yeah.
so a friend of mine drove me because I was being put under, and according to her, well, I went in at 8. At 8:10, I was under, and at 8:50, they were rolling me out in the
Wow.
wheelchair.
That was
And,
fun.
and according to her, I was very discombobulated on the ride home, and I was saying many things. But here's the thing. I've asked several times, what did I say?
And she won't tell you.
She keeps sending me the meme from the Muppets of maniacal laugh, maniacal laugh.
Let's put it this way: it could have been worse. She could have filmed you.
I don't know that she didn't.
That's true too.
Kermit Flail.
I know, but to thank her because she picked up my meds and everything for me. It was a true act of friendship on a Friday morning to get up at 7:00 to take me to do all this. So I'm going to take her to lunch or to dinner and to see Captain America: Civil War when it comes out. Speaking of which, did you see the trailer, Terry?
I did.
Oh, I had a Vicodin hard on.
You sure it wasn't Viagra?
Oh, I'm sure.
He saves those for later.
I don't need those.
Spidey gives him the hards on.
No, you know what it is? This is the truth. Okay, growing up, I thought Captain America was quite boring.
Oh.
Chris Evans has made him, like, so heroic to me. He's like, Captain America is the shit now.
Yep. I could do this all day.
Yeah. He just... the right guy was cast.
Yeah. I agree. It was funny. A couple of weeks ago, I watched, Alan, what is it? Versus the World. Scott Pilgrim. And he's in that, but he plays one of the seven deadly Yeah, he plays one of the boyfriends. He plays the skateboarding jackass. And it's hard to recognize him because he's so kind of Wolverine-ish.
Oh, that's like, what's his name from Guardians of the Galaxy?
Chris Pratt.
Yeah, Chris Pratt. You know, he was in Moneyball.
Yeah.
He was in Zero Dark 30. There's been so many things, and I'll be watching. I'm like, wait a minute, is that Chris Pratt?
Well, let's move on. Miss Janet, what did you do this week?
Well,
yeah,
we'll get to that.
Friday.
Okay. All right, yeah, because I'm hip deep in stuff. Everybody decided it's homework time, and apparently, well, this is supposed to be starting my my spring break, and so of course that means another professor decided, oh, it's homework time. I don't know why. I think the concept of spring break is sort of lost on this guy. So I will not be going to Fort Lauderdale.
Oh no.
I'm actually going to Long Island. For real. I'm going on the 17th. I'm going to see my folks, and I had to sort of like write down and keep resending every few days the day that I'm going to be there, because I would continually get phone calls that say, "Are you coming on the 10th?" "No, I'm coming on the 17th, Mom." "So you're coming on the 12th?" "No, the 17th, Dad."
I thought
my folks are both in their 80s. Okay.
I thought that being Jewish, the Constitution said you had to go to Florida.
Well, I would, except my folks aren't traveling there. So we're going. So I'm going to Long Island. I'm going to Long Island because my mother is a little bit terrified of my father's finances. So I've been given 4 days in between them feeding me to try to figure out what's going on.
Oh, honey, I'm so sorry.
I there's numbers and stuff. You know, I ask for this stuff every few years or so, and I usually get like a DVD is burned for me. You know, my father knows how to do that, so a DVD is burned for me, and then I'll be like pawing through it, and I'll see things like, oh, this is like a jigsaw puzzle program. Okay, why did you send me this? You know? So I get a lot of extra stuff.
To help with your downtime. It's
for my
stress.
downtime while I'm looking at his taxes. So it's going to be a fun week. A fun week.
What about you, Mikey?
I made words.
Yay!
I've been like blocked for like months, and oh man, it felt so good to make words.
Oh, congrats! Yay!
I don't know if they're any good. They might the words
Doesn't matter.
I made might suck, but hey,
they're just random words. He didn't say they string together or anything. They're just random words.
Well, congrats!
Thank you.
Good for you.
So I've started outlining a screenplay, something different. So we'll see.
Good for you.
And it ain't sci-fi.
Because you're.
Yes.
What did you do this week?
You.
Well, I spent yesterday setting up this microphone.
Is that what you crazy kids are calling it?
If you know what I mean.
If you know what I mean. Yeah.
Well, had to turn the gain up a little, you know.
Yeah, no, it was.
Blah, 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 blah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what we did this week. Worked and set up his microphone. There you go.
What did Casey and Chloe do?
What they're doing now, pretty much. Actually, they got to go on a walk yesterday.
Oh, it's high times.
Barked at rabbits.
Yeah, they did bark at rabbits. They barked at coyotes.
Shocker.
Yeah,
They barked at the air.
Nothing
That's
but
true.
good times in New Mexico.
Pretty much.
I'd love it there.
Sweet. Okay, let's move on. We might as well just start off with it because I know it's going to take a majority of our time. Hopefully,
Well,
we'll
wait
be
a
able
minute.
to.
No, we don't have enough lurkers yet.
We don't.
There's only 2.
Because of the time change.
Or do you think that quite possibly some shaka, the walls fell, their eyes are open? Well, hello?
Hello.
What? I'm sorry.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello?
It just
got
sounded
Skype
like Getty
there
was
for a minute.
Skyping a little bit.
No, I
Yeah,
said, do you
it's
think
cleared
that
up.
maybe shaka, the walls fell and their eyes opened?
No.
Besides, don't they
No.
want to hear our dulcet tones?
I saw some stuff this morning that just proves that it.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
By the way,
Oh.
Janet, I could listen to you fucking read Jello pudding recipes, okay? I could just listen to you all day long.
First, take 16 ounces of water.
And I'm sitting here with my hands
And
cupped
bring
beneath
it
my
to a
chin,
boil.
just staring and blinking.
I got the big long, the yellow plastic gloves up to my elbows on. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Go on. Go on.
Oh God.
One of those bib aprons, okay, made of denim. It's got Kiss the Cook on it.
Are you
That's
wearing,
what I'm wearing,
are you wearing
honey.
a shower cap?
A hairnet, baby, a hairnet.
With
Oh,
curlers on underneath.
When did you
Absolutely
put the
food
video
safety,
up?
yeah.
Because I just saw it yesterday. You with the video with the coffee, I was dying.
Thanks. Although I, in retrospect, I look pretty ghostly. I should have put on makeup for that. So sorry. Yes, I have coffee in the other room. I have Axonar coffee. I do own it. It really exists. Do you want me to start?
Yeah. I'll go ahead and let our listeners know.
I made something Star Trek. Unofficial Productions.
Believe it or not, there's probably a bunch of people who do not know yet. But on Friday evening, the Pacer was updated with Pacer being the way that the public can access pretty much any public document through the legal or the court system. CBS Paramount has filed what is called an amended complaint, meaning that instead of responding to the motion or to the reply or the motion to dismiss that
They
was
dropped
filed,
the hammer.
sort of.
Yes.
We'll see how hammerish it really is. They filed an amended complaint instead of replying to the replying to the motion to dismiss that was filed by Axonar Productions and Alec Peters. If you do recall that, you can also go back to the fan dances and the wonderful blogs being done by Jespa that outlined the motion to dismiss that was filed by Axonar, which outlines some theories of, or you kind of opened up our ideas of what they were going to use as a defense. And one of those things was, well, how can we fight or how can we defend ourselves if we don't know exactly which trademark or copyrights we have allegedly infringed? So instead of going through the motion to dismiss response, CBS Paramount just refiled their complaint and pretty much outlined every single copyright they infringed.
Yes.
So have at it, my dear.
When you say, "Do I look pretty in this dress?" or if not, what's wrong? Don't be surprised when you hear about every wrinkle in the dress.
Yes. Okay. This is,
and I think that the date or the title of today's show will be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, careful what you wish for. Absolutely. I was thinking that too. All right. So here's the deal. The The amended complaint is 48 pages long. So I'm in the process of blogging about it. It should be out tomorrow, despite my insane homework, because I do want to get this out. I think it's important, and it also is, for my own selfish reasons, it's helpful if I have it out so I can just sort of point people to it so I don't have to answer quite so many questions.
Janet, I have a very serious question for you.
Yes.
You came to us to do the social manager thing. Have there been times since this whole Axonar thing started that you've been like, I kind of wish I'd kept my mouth shut?
No, I'm enjoying this. It's it's fun, and I've met a lot of people. I've made new friends, which has been lovely. I've also been called lovely names, which happens, and but that's what happens when you are public and you take a stand and you make statements, and it's been kind of neat using my education, so I don't mind. Anyway,
well, we love Seth.
Thank you. So on to the fun. So anyway, 48 pages long, and I've just finished page 30. So, I've glanced through the whole thing, but, in depth, I've only gone through page 30. But I think the thing to really keep in mind is that the motion to dismiss that was made, this amended complaint is a direct response to it. And all you really need to care about are the 6 things that were at issue in the motion to dismiss, and they are: Number 1, plaintiff's complaint fails to meet minimal pleading standards because plaintiffs do not specify which amongst thousands, that word's in quotes, of alleged copyrights have been infringed. Well, the amended complaint blows that one out of the water, and I'll get to that in a moment. But it's up until about the 10th page or so, the paragraphs between the initial complaint and the amended one are very similar, and they almost completely match. It's pretty much just sort of wholesale copy and paste because, the fact pattern doesn't change much. But after that, it suddenly gets very different because they start showing images, and that's where this comes down. And I'll give you the lowdown on that in a second. But probably what Loeb and Loeb did, I strongly suspect, is they have a spreadsheet and they just divided it into 2 columns, and one side said Axonar, and the other, alleged infringement, and the other side said CBS, Paramount, copyrighted material. And then it was subdivided into various categories, things such as costumes, characters, species, ships, basic plot devices, and a few other things. We'll get into a little bit of detail a little bit later.
And then that was split into 2 things as well, right? One was the prelude to Axonar, and then the other one was what information they had of things that were associated with the Axonar film.
Right. Although there wasn't very much on the Axonar film. Most of this is about prelude because it's there. The second thing that they had an issue with was that they said that the ownership claims are implausible, and the specifics they said about that was that they didn't know who owned what. That was addressed in the amended complaint, so that's gone. Third, they said plaintiffs' claims are improperly based upon allegations made on, quote, information and belief. This is kind of a semantic shenanigans kind of argument. Information... Semantic shenanigans.
I just wanted to hear her say it again.
Isn't it awesome?
I'm so in love
Semantic
with you.
Shenanigans.
That's going to go into the blog.
Mike?
Just tell you that right now.
That's the title, Semantic Shenanigans.
We need like 6 titles for this one. So anyway, so the semantic shenanigans here are the term information and belief. This phrase has been used in the law since God knows forever. There's nothing wrong with it. The case law that they used to support this was they basically said, well, you can't just say on information and belief, here's a problem. You have to give more specifics. So I'm cool with that. This is fine. But this also gets blown out of the water with these side-by-side comparisons. So goodbye to that. Then they also said the plaintiff's claims based on the potential fan film are unripe. And what they meant was that there is no script. I'm going to get to that in a moment, but that's also taken care of. The other 2 are, number one is enjoining the potential fan film would be a prior restraint on freedom of speech. And by that, which is still kind of silly,
I'm sorry. That just
that one continues to be in the realm of I can't even. I have no idea what the hell they were talking about there.
It's their God-given right to make fan films.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
no. What they're saying is it's their First Amendment right to steal other people's IPs.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The First Amendment has nothing to do with businesses protecting their IP. It has everything to do with the government saying you can't say the president sucks.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have a freedom of speech, but there's also limitations on freedom of speech.
Right, but it has nothing to do with the business protecting its interests.
Well, now
Exactly.
that has become questionable in light of Citizens United.
Yeah.
So, again, be careful what you wish for.
Last one is plaintiffs have failed to allege any violation of plaintiffs' rights with respect to the potential fan film. That's also, way, way down there on that list. And I think, as I had mentioned when we first went over the motion, you always start with your strongest argument and then you move progressively down to your weakest. And this one was like, it kind of doesn't make any sense. So let's go to the complaint itself.
Yay.
And I'm gonna cut to the chase, straight to page 9. And let me put this into the chat room. Just hang on a moment.
Yay, page 9.
Everybody loves page 9.
Yeah.
Explain.
Page 9 is, I have to open up mine. There it is.
Bam!
Okay. All right. According to the motion to dismiss, the defense claimed that it was unripe, that the cause of action was unripe because there was no script. Here you have a tweet which was also repeated by Axonar's Facebook page. It says, according to Axonar's Facebook page, as of August 15, 2015, there was a, quote, fully revised and locked script, end quote, which is referred to as, quote, the best Star Trek movie script ever, end quote. Now,
attached to that tweet
is an image. Now, the image has there's three elements to this. One is the status that goes with it, which is where they say a fully revised and locked script and exclamation point. Congrats to my writing partner Bill Hunt. Is that Hunt or Hurt? I can't quite see it.
Hunt.
Thank you. Together we were able to produce... Stop putting shit in the chat room. Sorry, but I really can't read this. Together we were able to produce what director Rob Burnett calls the best Star Trek movie script ever! Exclamation point. Second element of this is an image of, I assume this is Mr. Hunt, he's kind of cut off. In the center is Alec Peters holding up what it looks like a white sheaf of paper. And then on the right-hand side is Robert Meyer Burnett. And they're all pointing to, and there's actually 4 hands pointing to this, this white sheaf of paper. We don't really know what's on it. But then next to that, there's another image, and it's apparently intended to be a close-up of the white sheaf of paper. And it's got a title in all caps, Axonar. And it says, written by Alec Peters and Bill Hunt, directed by Robert Meyer Burnett, his name's cut off slightly, August 10th, 2015. Now, I caution everyone, this is hearsay.
Yes.
Hearsay is a term that we use in common ordinary parlance that doesn't really mean what it does in the law. So let me explain that. When we use common ordinary parlance, we say the word hearsay, and it kind of has this gossip connotation, has a negative connotation of, well, that's just hearsay. She doesn't really love him, kind of thing. In the law, hearsay has exactly 2 elements. One is you're not under oath, which they aren't, and we aren't right now. The other one is when you use a statement when you use the verbiage in the statement to prove the veracity of that statement. But here's the kicker. First off, there's plenty of exceptions to hearsay. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, you don't need to use this statement, this verbiage to prove the veracity of the statement. Here's why.
Huh?
Okay.
Remember, I'm on drugs.
Okay. So if I tell you that I have blue eyes, which is the truth, well, I'm not under oath. Okay?
Okay.
So technically, this is hearsay, right? If we're trying to use that to prove that I have blue eyes, we can't. But if we instead use this statement for some other purpose, like let's say I'm trying to prove that I can speak English, and I say the sentence, "I have blue eyes." Well, that kind of proves that I can speak English. It doesn't prove whether that's true or not. It proves something else. So it's usable, but not for the truth of what I said. So here, we don't need for this to be true.
They said it?
That's right. Mm-hmm. We don't need for this piece of paper to be a script. It could be a French phrase book under there for all we care.
But they said that it's the completed script, so that's good enough.
That's right.
So
there's a contradiction.
Okay, so for someone like me, along these lines, if someone says, I want to assassinate presidential candidate X, even if you have no intention, that's good enough for them to take action.
Yes, because it's not for the
because on information and belief, it was a truthful statement.
Yeah,
right.
So I don't want to get too far off the mark here, because this isn't criminal, and we don't want to go down that.
No, I'm just saying because I think the common thought of hearsay is what people get from court shows.
Yeah,
where
and it's
objection,
not quite
Your
right.
Honor, hearsay.
And it's a little bit different.
Yeah. So we don't care what that thing says. We don't care what's in it. We just care that they said it. Partly because they, in sworn pleadings, in a sworn motion rather, they said there was no script, and here they are saying that there is one. So there's a contradiction. But also beyond this lawsuit, which is not the donors, has nothing to do with the donors. And by the way, folks, the amended complaint never even says the word donor here. The donors are not party to this suit. They are not going to get money out of this. But if you're a donor and you see this should raise massive red flags, because it creates a paradox. Either under a sworn motion, we have more people listening in, Janet. I guess they found out that the lawyer's talking. It's 9:32. So if either there is no script according to the motion, mm-hmm. or
which is what they said in the sworn
that's right.
Court document.
Sworn court document, or the opposite is true, that there is a script
and they lied in the court document.
Right. But the other piece of this, there's actually a third end of it, is let's say there really is no script, and this isn't true, and there's a French phrase book under there. Whether it's true or not, if I am a donor and I've got a fucking French phrase book in front of me that has a nice cover on it, and I'm told this is a script, and I donate based upon that.
Now it's fraud. ...
Fill in here, folks. I'm not going to say the word.
Fraud.
But you know what I'm talking about here.
Fraud.
Thank you, Mr. Drug Person.
Thank you.
That's been my question for a while, because it seems like they've set themselves up either way. You have a script, and so now you violated the IP. You don't have a script, you just use that as a means to fraud people to donate.
That's right.
Either way, you've done something wrong.
Yeah, it's one of the other kids.
One of them is criminal, though, right?
That's right. Be. Yeah. Okay. Well, they could potentially be criminal. There's also civil fraud, but so I'm going to tell the donors again.
Mike, the law is very, very tricky, isn't it?
Yes, that's why we go to school.
That's why I have an interpreter. Thank you, Janet.
If you're a donor, the case of CBS Paramount versus Alec Peters, Axonar Productions, and 20 as yet unnamed does is not for you. I'm sorry, but it's not. If you want justice for yourself and for your fellow donors.
If you feel you've been wronged.
Right, and if you don't, or if you feel like it's not your business, or it's not enough money, it's $20, whatever, I don't care. Hey, I totally get that impulse.
Absolutely.
You go, girl, no problem. But if you do want justice for this, you're going to have to pursue it through different means.
Right.
You have several options. One is contact your financial provider. By that I mean PayPal, your credit card company, something like that, however you paid. And tell them you want to dispute the charge. Start with that, because a lot of them will take your side as a matter of course, and they'll do the investigation. Or you can ask for a refund, because there have been some refunds provided. So why not ask? You can contact your local crusading consumer affairs reporter. You can contact your local representative, although in an election year, you got good luck on that one. Or, hey, folks, we've offered this link before. You can contact the California Attorney General's office and ask them to begin an investigation. Are you a bad person for doing this? Of course not. That's what the Office of the Attorney General is for. That's their job. They're happy to do it.
And if I may say this, Janet?
Sure.
If you feel, if you've been a supporter and then you look at the things that are in the amended complaint and you've taken an independent view all your own, do not, and I'm going to use the word, be bullied by thinking, oh, I'm a hater now, or this or that.
And in the
your
alternative,
money,
right? And as well, take it in the opposite. Don't start a fight. In other words, if you've got an issue, use the legal and appropriate means to vent your frustration and your anger. Don't just start posting everywhere. Don't start a verbal kerfuffle with people who don't feel the same way you do. It's not worth it. It really isn't worth it. So in other words, don't go to the Axonar fan pages or their donor pages and start, making hell where you don't need it.
If you feel you want your money back,
because there's
it's
a
your
lot
money.
of people who don't feel that they've been wronged.
And I also want to point this out too. I don't want anybody to think that I want to see Mr. Peters in jail. I don't want to see bad things happening to people. No. But I also want folks to know that if they want justice, if they want to complain, if they want to see something investigated, at least, they have every right to do so. And exactly. You don't stop being a good person just because you want to see an investigation conducted. And maybe an investigation won't come up with anything.
That's true.
But you're entitled to ask for it.
I want to give credit to somebody. Mike, what was the name of the social media guy?
Mike Bowden.
Yeah.
Yes, from Axonar. Went on to the CBS Paramount, the I Stand with CBS Paramount. Ladies and gentlemen.
Their PR guy?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was a class in how to do the job correctly.
Oh, that's cool to hear.
He was ultimately extremely civil, friendly, laughing, asking where the pie was.
Yes, very professional.
He has said outright, he told them, stop trolling everybody else's pages, stop arguing with everybody, and he said it's difficult when you have a client that won't listen.
Yeah, I bet. It's a tough job. It really is a tough job.
He understands people's complaints and might even agree with some of them.
Might.
I'm
glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that he was cool.
And he was a very nice gentleman, and much kudos to him. And I think the lines that were being fed him about how horrible that page is kind of went away because he saw people's legitimate complaints. Nobody was saying, hey, Alex is a horrible human being. What they were saying was, he treats donors like shit. Oh, you only gave $15. What do you care?
And, I think all of us can agree that the way that Alec and others and the way that they've treated a lot of people, including myself, goes straight to the heart of how is it that we can't use that as a way to judge how they are as people. And it's very difficult for us when we are, when I actually have, I think I've blocked 3 people in my life, and Alec is one of them.
Alec doesn't tell people the amount of times prior to the lawsuit that we talked up Axonar. Mike donated to Axonar.
Right.
I think I might have. I just don't remember. So I'll just call a draw on that. I'm not sure if I did or not. But also, Alec approached us in Vegas and asked if he could have some things from Axanar in our booth to pimp Axanar, and we did because we were supportive. He doesn't tell people that.
That was several years ago when
2 years ago.
3 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
3 years ago.
It was 3 years ago.
When we were, I think during the Kickstarters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we did that. But he doesn't tell people that. He just, the G&T show is full of haters. No. We asked questions you didn't like, and you went batshit crazy because you have... If you want to be in Hollywood, let me just say this. Toughen the fuck up.
Well,
okay?
Yeah. The continuing on too, I really want to get to some of the interesting things that were that were in the amended complaint, because it wasn't just the picture of the script. It wasn't just the picture of the script. There are other very, very specific things that CBS and Paramount have outlined. Number one, it's nice when CBS and Paramount finally come out and tell everybody exactly what we've already known, and a lot of people don't seem to get through their thick skulls, and that is CBS owns the rights to the television and Paramount owns the rights to the films. They've actually outlined that now within the complaint. Ta-da! Do you get it, people? These are two different companies. One company owns the film rights, one company owns the television rights. Done. It's simple. It's really not that difficult. And also, they listed the trademark or the trademark copyright numbers with each listing with the registration numbers. So if there is a question as to whether or not they own it and own a term, own a character.
Yeah, they made this about as clear as you possibly could. Now I'm going to
start... Am I the only one that laughs, though, at pointed ears being in a court document?
Isn't it awesome?
I'm going to show you the first side-by-side visual comparison, and you don't need to be a Trek fan to get this, okay?
It's fairly plain English.
Oh, please stop putting stuff in the chat. I'm sorry, but please. So here, what we've got here is, this is page 13, is Klingon appearance. So what they did was they showed, they acknowledge the fact that the Klingons have changed, okay? So what they're showing is, in the upper right-hand corner, this is a Klingon from the motion picture in 1979. And they compare him directly to Richard Hatch.
Played by Mark Leonard.
Thank you. And so it's because the patternings have changed. And then right below that, you've got costuming, and they're comparing the two. Now, either this is an awfully good copy or it's the same garment. It's probably the same garment. People have said that this is the same garment with slight alterations.
I think I don't know. I really don't know if it's the same or not. We know that the symbol in the collar piece is a bit different.
Yes.
But we do know for a fact that another...
but the black leather part looks very...
Well, here's the thing.
So close.
We know for a fact that another costume is the exact costume that was used in the show. So,
yeah, I'm gonna move on to that in a moment. But as you can see, there's so many points of similarity here that even if it isn't the exact item, then it was clearly made in an effort to repeat the experience.
Which means it's a...
copyright violation.
And derivative work. There you go.
Page 15. We're going to laugh at the pointed ears now.
All right. It's really, really fascinating. There we go.
Now, I want people to understand. They didn't show Saval and the...
Matthew Anderson.
Stop that, please. I'm sorry. It's just it's easier for me to see it on this screen if it stays.
All right. Until the lawyer says no more putting things in the chat room.
I appreciate it.
I know that it's going to hurt you all, but this is vital stuff.
They're so used to commenting on everything.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be a dictator on this. It's just
like Hermione raising her hand in class.
Okay. So what we've got here is we're not comparing Gary Graham in Enterprise versus Axanar. We're not. We're comparing Gary Graham in Axanar versus Leonard Nimoy in the original series, because the curve I looked on Trek Core to see if I could find some similar side by side from Enterprise, and the truth is they did change the curve a little bit of the ear, so it's not quite identical in terms of from series to series, but this is still a very clear, outright copy of the Vulcan ear in TOS. Now you can see there are some slight differences. The angle is a little sharper for Gary Graham, and for Nimoy the earlobe hangs down a little bit more, but at the top it comes up to a point that goes pretty close to vertical, with a little bit of a curve directed towards the front of the face. I know that's a lot of minutia, but what we're talking about here is a difference between the pointed ears that are used in Trek versus pointed ears that are used, let's say, for J.R.R. Tolkien's elves.
I was just going to say that Lady Renegade, one of her things at the conventions was somebody would be a Vulcan. She was like, but they have elf ears on,
Right.
Vulcan ears. She can spot that in a second.
And it's very distinctive. Very distinctive. Elf ears tend to slope back. They tend to point towards the rear of the head.
It makes them more streamlined.
And they also tend to be a little bit longer. And even hobbit ears are smaller and point back.
What are? What are?
Hobbit ears.
Hobbit ears.
Hobbit ears.
Page 17.
All
Gold
right.
shirt command uniform. Now it's interesting because we've got this is Mr. Peters on the left, and instead of mimicking the regular TOS stuff, this is actually coming from the Cage. So it's from the failed pilot. But it doesn't matter. That's still copyrighted. It's still owned. And I know
Cage also appeared in the Menagerie as
Correct.
flashbacks, so it is related.
Yeah, it's related in more than once. And so what they talked about is the distinct collar. Now, I caution you that the insignia does differ. It does. So I'll give them that. But we've got not only the same collar or very close to the same collar. It actually seems to be closer to Kirk's collar than Spock's.
Yeah.
The shade is the same too. The draping, the fit is similar as well.
The rank is too.
And
yeah.
And there's any Star Trek fan will also know that the reason why the emblem is different is because Star Trek canon had at the time an idea that every ship had a different emblem.
Much like every
The Delta
infantry
was
division
actually
has its
very
own patch.
specific, right? The Delta was specifically Enterprise.
So it also goes along with that. Now, page 18. Let's.
But it does have the command emblem inside
Correct.
the Axanar. And by the way, I'm going to say something nice here.
Oh,
I like the Axanar symbol
it's
for
cool.
the Ares. I think that is a pretty cool symbol, personally.
Nothing frustrates me more in how awesome this would have been if they had just. Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
All right. Keep going.
I think we all agree.
Yeah. So you get into the minutia here, even with the lower two images. God bless them. They got a picture of Majel Barrett from the Cage or the Menagerie, because that's just used footage. The cowl neck is even being looked at as being the same. That's getting down to a level of detail that is practically molecular, folks.
Well, they asked.
That's right. You wanted specifics? Fuck yeah, you got specifics.
I'm okay.
Page 19, okay. Triangular medals. It's like this, folks. It's this kind of stuff. I don't even want to get into the ships because I realize how long I'm taking here.
No.
But
You take your time.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it's just that it's a similar kind of comparison is being made over and over again. And here we've got, this is J.G. Hertzler versus as opposed to William Shatner. So what they also did is they pulled out some of the stops here in terms of showing people who would be readily recognizable to a jury, such if this gets that far. Because even if people don't know who Hertzler is, and maybe they're not even sure who Majel Barrett is, they're going to look at Shatner and then, fuck yeah, that's Captain Kirk. And they're copying Captain Kirk. And if that doesn't bring it home for a jury, I'm not so sure what will. But there are tons of these. And it goes on for pages and pages like this, getting into the specifics of exactly which episode it comes from, the registry number for it, the date that it came out. Some of these dates are slightly off, but that those are the kinds of errors that are readily fixable with an amendment, because some of them might say 67, they should have been 68 or vice versa. Very close. This is typo level kind of stuff. And that does not make this fail. Now, Louis D'Onofrio just asked, will cosplay no longer be allowed?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, okay. The goddamn cosplay question has been asked again. Cosplay is generally going to be fine. This is what is being shown here is a pattern of infringement. They are making they're making a claim here, CBS and Paramount are, and they're showing all the specific instances of infringement. A cosplayer who does not hold herself or himself out as being in direct competition and is not taking money. Now, we know that profit is not an element of this, but profit certainly goes towards damages. If a cosplayer is just coming into a convention and is wearing Vulcan ears and a catsuit and says, "Hey, I'm T'Pol," most people are going to look at her and say, "You're a beautiful woman, but you're not Jolene Blaylock." Thank you. Just losing names today.
Oh, no, I had that one. Don't worry.
But cosplayers are going to be fine. But if they go out and they absolutely are holding themselves out and it's a lookalike, and she says, and she doesn't say, "I'm a lookalike," she says, "I am Jolene Blaylock, and and here's what I'm going to charge for my signatures and all this other garbage that goes along with this," I think they're going to have a problem with that. And even more importantly, not just CBS and Paramount, I think Jolene Blaylock is going to kick that person's ass.
That's right.
Because her image shouldn't be used for this other person to make money.
So
when you work in Hollywood, your image is
like
important.
Jerry Ryan, she could come kick my ass.
Sorry, honey, your rack is nowhere near as great.
My legs aren't even near as great. And I've got great legs.
So, again, and D'Onofrio says, is that not what cosplay does? Is they try to keep to the original works? Okay, I think the thing is here, and I understand why people are concerned, and because it's scary. The idea of this is very scary, and that is, I'm a cosplayer. I don't want to get in trouble. The fact of the matter is that you're not, when you dress up like this, you're celebrating in and using as accurate as a means of self-expression in artistic relation, but you're not going out to harm or to compete with the IP that you're celebrating, right?
Yes,
it's not like
the competing is
if
very
you're a
important.
brown coater, right? If you're a brown coater and you want to dress up like Mal, number one, if you're going to a convention, very few people are going to confuse you with the real Mal.
Oh, no kidding, right? Woo!
Well, I think a difference too is that when you're cosplaying, you're it's like an homage to the thing. You're honoring it, and you're not, and like you said, you're not competing. But if you were to say build a whole bunch of replica costumes and put it in a museum and then charge money to people and say this is the Star Trek uniforms,
yes,
that would be an infringement, because you're trying to make it more than what it is. But if you're just wearing it at a convention, that's not going to be an infringement.
Exactly.
Yeah, under the same logic as going to a costume party or Halloween ball. Don't worry about that.
Because isn't that how they look at the conventions? It's a giant costume party, especially when they have sanctioned costume
contests.
Yeah, usually they look at it as homage/parody, and it's okay under fair use. I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong if you get permission for this stuff, folks. And that's basically what the conventions have, is they have pretty much a blanket permission here from the IP holders that say, yes, you can celebrate this.
I mean, if you're going to the official Star Trek convention and there's a costume contest, lighten up. Go have fun. Wear your costumes. Don't worry about CBS and Paramount coming over. You're going, oh, all of you 3,000 people in this room are now IP infringers. It's not going to happen.
You would be surprised, though, how many women ask me to take my scant off. That's something different. Never mind.
That's not what they were asking, Nick.
Okay, let me show you page 22 because let me show you page 22 because I think this one I think they dropped the ball slightly.
No posting in the room.
And I think I know what you're. Oh, okay, go for it. Okay.
Yes, this one I was like, really? Wow.
Yeah, I was mystified by this one.
I'm not.
I mean, they're showing dry docks, and the concept of a dry dock, I think they can kind of get away with and say, yeah, that sort of makes some sense. That you'd have what looks like a floating structure that more or less covers the starship, but doesn't totally cover it. And people would work on it.
But Janet, what is the most memorable scene that people still talk about from the motion picture?
It's the dry dock. It's the reveal. So that's kind of what they're putting out there is that they probably know that this is sort of gilding the lily and they ain't gonna get it. But it's again this is being put out here probably more for the benefit of the jury than for any other reason. The other reason why this is here, now they do cover the starships later, but here they're also shooting this warning shot off the bow, and they're telling you already on page 22, even though they're going to cover it later, they're looking at this and saying, and by the way, folks, and if you're a juror and you're not a big Star Trek fan or you sort of know about it a little bit, yeah, you know who Nimoy was, you might look at that and say, the colors are a little bit off. But and the structure I don't quite buy, but look at the thing that's in the structure. Look how similar that is. So there's a really end run going on here.
Yeah, what cracks me up. Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
No, please go ahead.
We're talking about because I know we're going to get to the ships, and I know that we don't really want to get into the. Here's the thing, folks. Here's the thing. I mean, there's some. I've heard people going, "Oh, about the what makes a Star Trek ship a Star Trek ship," and the fact of the matter is that yes, there are those of us who are completely anal, and we can tell you the actual structural difference from nacelle to nacelle. Mm-hmm. When you look at it and you look at the picture of those two ships, and you ask somebody which one's the Star Trek ship.
What did we say about putting in the chat room, people?
They'll say both. My 83-year-old mother will look at those two and say, okay, they both have the flat top. They both have one thing underneath that looks like a cylinder. They both have what looks like a front headlight. That's what I'm sure she would notice. But here, let me show you something even better. And this is the next page.
And let me say this. You can take somebody who maybe has just a passing more than a passing interest in science fiction television, but isn't a geek at the level, say, we are. And you can put 3 ships up and say, what is that? What is that? What is that? And they can say Star Trek, Star Wars, and I'll even go Babylon 5. No, Battlestar Galactica.
Yep.
Because they are readily identifiable from
a general perspective.
So nobody is going to confuse an X-Wing with something out of Star Trek.
And here's the thing, is I think that pretty much the general public would know if they saw an X-Wing as a character in a Star Trek movie. And they would go, what the hell?
And before anybody says anything and they say, oh, the Millennium Falcon was in
it was
in First Contact. Yes, that's because ILM did it, and ILM
it was point something of a second. You weren't meant to see it, except for those of us who went frame by frame by frame. Okay.
All right.
Which
page
are
23.
The same people that are still virgins at age 54.
Hey.
Just saying. You're not 54.
No, close.
Aw.
Page 23. Please.
Okay.
They don't listen. Our chat room does not
He didn't
listen.
know you were done.
They can't help themselves.
He's looking at giggling.
Don't forget the chat room is like 30 seconds behind you, too.
She put it out a long time ago, Alan.
Okay, all right. Well, let's
everybody put your forks down and back away from the plugs.
Okay. All right. This one I think is particularly
that
damning.
goes to it. Yeah.
Okay. Page 23. I'm not really looking at the bottom stuff. I'm looking at the top. Okay. Now, unfortunately, this isn't as good a close-up as you can get if you've got the PDF or if you go to PhotoBucket, and that stuff will all be in the blog post. So if you want to go to PhotoBucket, look at stuff closer, have at it. You want to right-click and keep this stuff, you're entitled to it. This is a public document, kids. This is not doxing. It's a public fucking document, and I paid for it. You are entitled to it.
And it can't be taken down by people trying to cover their ass.
That's right. This is a public document. This is how justice works in the United States, ladies and gentlemen.
I said that because I love it when Janet gets riled up. You have no idea.
Semantic shenanigans, motherfucker.
Matzah. Somebody get her some matzah. Stat.
I love it.
Stat. All right. Top 2 images. It's a little hard to see, okay? But here's what we've got right in front of us. Right in front of us. Flat top, single front. That's the deflector. But if somebody says that's a headlight, I'm not going to stop them. They both also have sort of a V-shaped, the nacelles, they might call them cylinders, that come right behind them. There's other details that are a little hard to see in the chat room. Underneath the saucer section for both ships, it says NCC-1701. It says it reversed script, and it says it on both sides. It's the same, or it appears to be the same, sans serif font. They're both in black. In addition to that, it's very hard to see this, but it is absolutely fucking copy. There is a shadow on the left-hand side. I want to say it's about 10 o'clock or so, 10:30 or so.
Yep.
See how that looks almost sort of like a reverse Nike swoosh?
Yes.
You know, it looks sort of like
I called it
pennant shaped.
Yeah.
Called it pennant shaped in the blog. It's identical. It's a copy. This is someone taking Photoshop and isolating that piece from the original image, which may not have been this one. Is probably an image that's a little more flat on, copying it and pasting it over there. It's identical, ladies and gentlemen. They're also named the exact same thing. So that's what we have in front of us.
There's no
if
doubt
that's
they
not a
made the
copy,
Enterprise.
I don't know what is.
Right. Yeah. It's no doubt they made the Enterprise, and they used the Enterprise to make the Enterprise. Of course they did.
Yeah, this is a Xerox, folks, and Xerox. I'm sorry, Xerox. I'm not trademark infringing. It is a.
It's like Kleenex. It's become a household term, please.
Yes, it is. This is an exact copy.
Yeah.
Exact down to the square millimeter. This is identical. It's beautiful. I don't dispute that. But it's the same. And that's the problem here. It has nothing to do with donors. It has nothing to do with coffee.
Correct.
It has nothing to do with profit. It has nothing to do with conventions. It has nothing to do with Boomer the cat. It has nothing to do with patches.
Sushi?
It has nothing to do with sushi, thank you. It has nothing to do with people's personal relationships. It has nothing to do with haters. It has nothing to do with Facebook. It is a copy, ladies and gentlemen, and they were trying to make money off it.
Janet, interrogative.
Yes.
What about people from the axe on our side that would say, well, Star Trek Continues has the Enterprise in it?
Star Trek Continues does. I don't dispute that either.
They're not a party to the complaint.
That's right. Can CBS and Paramount sue them? Yes, they can.
Yep.
Are they on notice now? Yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like this? I'm sorry. But they are the IP holders, and they have the right to decide what they're going to enforce and when they're going to enforce it, long as the IP is in effect and the copyright is in effect, which it is. Now, one of the reasons why you're seeing the dates here is because, sometimes the dates can be important, and they are often showing not only the original appearance of something, but they're showing also very often the later appearances in order to show you how the dates are extending.
And here's another thing that's also very important for you to see, especially in this particular page, in page number 23. Why are they showing the Enterprise twice? Well, one, because they're showing that CBS's trademarks or copyrights have been infringed by showing the television series, but the one below it's from the motion picture, which shows that Paramount has been infringed as well. This is two different distinct plaintiffs showing how they were both infringed by the same defendant.
And
Yes.
the bottom image is even goes as far as not only including the space stock but also the worker bee. So it's almost set up as the exact same shot from a different angle.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
Mike, you're going to like this one, page 24. It's
Is this the
devoted to
Klingon almost mirror shot?
Yes, sorry about that.
It's okay.
No, it's between push to talk and copying this stuff.
And I'm going to say this: the top left shot of the D7s going above that city, I loved that shot.
Yeah.
That was fucking awesome.
It was a great shot. Yeah.
Too bad they decided to poke the bear. Sorry,
Alrighty.
Janet.
Sorry. No, I was drinking coffee. Not Axanar coffee. I'm not opening that bag. I promise.
You said it smelled good.
It does. It does. It smells delightful. So, yeah, it's a beautiful shot. I'm absolutely, I totally concede that. No problem. It's gorgeous. It's still a copy, folks. It doesn't matter how pretty it is. It could be a couple of pieces of cardboard taped together, and if it was directly recognizable as a Klingon D7, it would be an infringement. Except this one happens to be a very good infringement, and that's also what the problem is, because it's easy to confuse the knockoff and the original. And that's
the reason
where
I
they're
asked
going to show
earlier-
damages.
The reason I asked what I asked about continues is because, Janet, please discuss the defense of, well, other people are doing it.
We don't fucking care. Upset about this? Feel it's unfair? That's life in the big city.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
When you claim you're making Star Trek, that the studios have abandoned the fans and are not giving them what they want, and we are going to give you what you want, you have now challenged such authority. And Continues doesn't do that. They say, we're making a show out of love. And one other thing before you go on, Burnett put out this week that this is no trivial matter. People's families and food on the table is at stake with this. Well, there's the entire problem in a nutshell.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be done as a labor of love and a tribute to the show. If you've now staked your something, you cannot make a movie, a Star Trek movie, if CBS has not hired you, that you're depending your income on.
Right.
I could not go and make a Birds of Prey movie if I have not cleared it with Warner in DC and
Or
all
got
the right
hired by
parties.
them to do so. That's
Yes.
really what that's about.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you can't just carve out suddenly that you have a job doing this. And by the way, folks, I don't know how California unemployment works, but I know how it works in both New York and Massachusetts. And if you are collecting unemployment and you don't show that you're looking for work, you can't collect unemployment.
Right.
So in the event that anybody said suddenly that they had a job here, but they still collected unemployment, I got news for you.
Yeah.
You are not
Fraud?
going to want to hear it.
Is that fraud again?
Could be that happy word. Now we don't know this for sure, and if that's not happening, then my apologies. But if someone is using this as their job and they are doing this to the detriment of looking for another job, and they're also collecting unemployment, so there's maybe a lot of ifs here. But in the event that that's happening, that's a problem unto itself. But let's just look at the Klingon stuff for a moment here. And in particular, I want to draw your attention to the bottom two. The bottom two are pretty much identical. The angle's a little bit different. And on the right, which is the original, it's a little closer, so it's a little bit more detailed, but that would make sense given perspective. But even if you're not a fan, here's what you would say. They both look sort of like there's a ball with two supports under it, and what almost looks like a flat hat, almost like a sombrero on top of it. Okay? On the sombrero, there are two horizontal white light lines. In the center, there is what looks like a headlight, although because it's a ship, it's probably intended to be a weapon that's of an orangey kind of reddish yellowish color, and then the supports are somewhat clunky and look like the ship could rest upon them. You can see the similarities between the two. This might not be an absolute direct copy like we had with the Enterprise before, but it's pretty damn close.
I mean, there's no doubt. There's no doubt it's a D7. That's just it. We just know that that's a D7. Okay, I want to keep going because there's a couple things I want to talk about too, because I got a couple of questions that from people who've read the complaint that I want to make sure we get to. Oh, good. Yes, this is one of them. Keep
Okay,
going.
I love page 27. I do love it. I sat down and I counted fucking stars. I'm not joking.
I believe you. Of course you
Okay.
did.
All right. So on the left, as always, we've got Axanar, and on the right, we've got the original. So the first one is it is a round. It's a blue field with exactly 13 stars on it, and it's round. It's there's a gold ring around it, and then there's like either laurel leaves or olive branches. It's hard to tell what it is. But there's also UFP is in what is called a display font. Okay, because it's a sans serif font, but it's probably made just for this. On the right, the original, the display font is identical. The number of stars is identical. While it is a pennant shape, so it's a little bit different, the purposing is different. The logo, however, the coloration, the type of font, and the number of stars are identical. The bottom row is slightly different. It's a little bit hard to see the one on the left, but again, we have what is it's a field. It's intended to look probably like a stylized version of the Milky Way. It goes up for both of them. Most of the stars go from about 240 degrees to about 60 degrees in a diagonal. And then they're both surrounded by what looks like either olive branches or whatever. I'm not really sure, but they are identical botanical elements to them. And then on the right, which is the original, you have a few other things. It says things like ended transmission or something like that. But it's also because it's being purposed slightly differently, and it's intended to be a screenshot of Picard's
Teleprompter.
his desktop computer. Thank you. Lay it on me.
Okay. So this is for the people who are listening who may not be able to see what we're talking about. The pictures outline two logos that are used within the realm of Star Trek. One of them is the symbol, the TOS symbol of the UFP, the United Federation of Planets, but also later on in time of the universe is the symbol of the UFP, which is the star field wrapped by the laurel leaves, which show the distinct stars of the member planets that created the UFP, namely, allegedly, Earth, Vulcan, Tellar, and as the main three, and
Andoria, and then Alpha Centauri.
And Alpha Centauri. So the question that had come up to me, which was, how can that be an IP infringement? Sorry. And this is where I tend to get frustrated, because I understand that people don't understand it, but they go like, how can they use that as an IP infringement when really that logo, specifically the second logo, is just a knockoff of a logo that's owned by the UN.
It may have been inspired by the UN.
Thank you, Michael.
Its design elements are
far different.
Exactly.
Uniquely identifiable as something from Trek.
And therein lies the difference. If you can
and
make
it has
something
appeared so many times on screen as the UFP. I mean, think of Kirk opening the file on the Genesis device.
If you put up the logo of the United Nations up against the logo for the United Federation of Planets, now mind you, there have been some people in news that have mistaken them, but they were called out on it almost immediately. They're very different. If you put them side by side and you would look at them and go, oh yeah, you know what, they really are different. Well, they have some elements that are the same. The circular area, the fact of the matter is that you got a map of the Earth and the continents on the Earth, and then the laurel leaves around it. If you put it up against the UFP logo, you would definitely say, oh yeah, you know what, those are constellations, or those are stars, and not continents. They're very different. The fact of the matter is, when you put the Star Trek copyrighted logo up against the Axanar's use of the same logo, as stylized as it may be, like the one that Sori put up there, it's very definitely the UFP logo, and that is owned by CBS and Paramount, and you can't.
Exactly.
And therein lies, it's a trademarked and copyrighted item. And this, keep going.
Just to add one quick thing. Yes, it's inspired by the UN logo, and that's also because it's intended to be a successor organization. But the key word here is one of our favorite legal words. It's transformative.
Yes, thank you.
This is a real change. It's not just we lifted it, we copied it, we slapped it on, and we changed the name underneath it. That's not what happened here. Instead, what we have is, yes, there is a circular area, and it is defined by a pair of laurel leaves. I'll give you that one, absolutely. But then we've got what is a stylized starfield that, like I said, it comes from approximately 240 degrees in the lower left-hand corner up to about 60 degrees in the upper right. And then if you look at the UN logo is showing the Earth from, this is the North Pole, actually, and then it's got, and it shows the continents, and then underneath it, there are a number of concentric circles, probably intended to be more or less corresponding to Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, and the equator. And you've also got 1, 2, 3, there's like 6 spokes, I think it is. Is it 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... So there's 8 spokes coming out, which is odd, but hey, whatever. I didn't design it. But it's not my fault. But that's what the UN logo looks like. There are qualitative differences. And yes, if you looked at them from far away and you weren't wearing your glasses and they were both wearing they both had the exact same coloration on them, you might confuse the two. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about IP infringement just for myopic folks. We are talking about IP infringement for everyone.
Right. The other one that I would like to get to before, we tie things up, but we get to some general things I want to talk about. Do you have the, what page is next?
I was going to look at 28, but actually I don't think we need to. It's sort of memory alpha, and I think we can skip it.
Is there the one with the costume? Do you have that one available? If not,
which
Garth of Izar costume?
Oh, hang on. It'll take me a moment to talk amongst yourselves.
I was going to say one of the things what she's going to be posting, in the chat room, and again is publicly available, and you can look at it all on your own. But she'll also be doing Janet's going to be doing this wonderful in-depth analysis of the complaint on the fan dance. So she'll post that when she can. One of the things that did come up, and somebody sent me a question on Facebook, and I thought, I really need to look at this, was a photograph, a side-by-side comparison of the Garth of Izar costume. And that one actually brought up a couple of concerns to not only donors of Axanar, but also people who love New Voyages and people who love Axanar. And that is, a couple of questions arose out of this particular set of photographs. I want to address the actual thing that CBS is alleging first, before we get to, holy crap, there's a picture here that brings in another fan production. The first question I got was, hey, how can they go after Alec for using the Garth of Izar costume when he actually purchased it? Didn't they transfer their rights to that to him when he purchased the costume? Because the side-by-side comparison isn't that they created a costume that looks like the Garth of Izar costume from the original series. The allegation is that not only did they not, that even if they had copied it, it would be pretty much detailed, but they actually used the actual costume, that the costume itself on the left is the very same original costume worn by the actor who played Garth of Izar in the original series.
Yes, indeed. Page 36.
So,
yes.
So the question had become, wait a minute, how didn't he? Alec bought this costume. Didn't they give up their rights when he sold it or when he bought it? And my answer to that is pretty simple. Absolutely not. Because what gives that costume any value?
The fact that it was in Star Trek.
The fact that it was the Garth of Izar costume, which was Star Trek, which is owned by somebody else. When you buy a costume that was worn or screen worn, the only thing that gives that costume value is how it was used. So you have to pay deference to the copyright holder for it.
I cannot buy a screen-worn Bane outfit from The Dark Knight Rises and then use that to try and make money playing Bane in something else without permission from Warner Brothers.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Exactly. What is interesting also is, Mr. Peters is a prop dealer, or he was, or he may have been, and the like is. And what is also kind of troubling in all of this is that PropWorks is located in the same building as Ares Studios, and I'm going to get to the word studios in a moment, folks. But we also have seen in the donor store where there's stuff from PropWorks and there's stuff from Ares, and it's all side by side. And here we've got a prop, and it's an original prop, as far as I'm aware, it's an original costume, and that's what CBS Paramount are alleging as well, and I think they're right. And it's being used here. So what we have here, folks, is commingling. So I'd be very curious to see what these books look like, because everything else seems to be shared.
That's right, the books
all around. It seems to be, hey, we need a costume. Let's just grab it from PropWorks. Hey, we need a prop. Let's grab it from PropWorks.
And I don't think that was done from intent. It was there. Hey, I've got this over here. Let's use this because it. You know what I mean? It was
faster and cheaper, folks, and more accurate. Yes, it's accurate.
But here's
the
thing:
accurate.
do we know that? And pardon my skeptical fucking mind, but I am wondering damn well whether or not PropWorks got a rental fee for that.
Yeah, I would wonder about that myself. So yeah, there's so much incestuous stuff going on with the props, the costumes, the books, all the donor store. Around and around and around we go,
and those books are now
circle.
Those books are fair game for discovery, correct?
You better believe they are, and they're
from
probably
everything
going to be
located in the Ares complex.
Yes, and then let me just mention why we're saying studio complex. We're going back and forth on this. Okay, Semantic Shenanigans return. Recently, Mr. Burnett got into a dictionary war, apparently, with someone on Twitter, with a gentleman on Twitter, and said, no, they aren't studios, it's a warehouse.
We're renting a warehouse.
We're renting a warehouse. And okay, the technicality is this. They are renting a space. That's absolutely true. They are renting a space. Except they've called it, in a ton of places, they've called it a studio. And they're starting to outfit it as a studio in order to use it as a studio.
Is there a sign outside that says Ares Studios?
That, I think, was photoshopped. But, be that as it may,
okay.
By your words ye shall know them, folks. We keep saying studio, 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 studio. And why do we keep saying studio, 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 studio? We say that because donors say, oh, look, a studio. This is going to continue. This is not going to be just a one-shot. We're going to see lots and lots more of this. Here, let me open my wallet. It's good enough to be a studio to get people to donate. But suddenly it turns into a warehouse when they're being sued. Which one is it, ladies and gentlemen? And once again, yes, it's a hearsay statement. But like I said, we don't need it. We don't need to use the verbiage to prove the veracity of the statement. We just need to know that it's a contradiction. And you better believe your sweet law-loving asses that that it is a contradiction. A paradox has been set up. My philosophy professors would be so happy to see this. It's a real, live paradox here.
Yeah.
You cannot have it both ways.
It's really frustrating. See, Nick, now you're doing it. You're putting stuff into the chat room. Bad boy. All right.
Yeah, but this one's funny.
It's okay. It's okay. I think we're starting to move along.
One of the things that also somebody wanted us to address, and they were concerned, is the picture that's on the left, which is the quote unquote the original Garth costume. Is now, mind you, this comes under the heading
on the left or the right.
On the left.
On the left, yes.
Original Garth costume on the left, underneath the header, infringing element from Axanar.
Yes.
There is a kind of a bite back where people are, holy crap, that was him in New Voyages. It wasn't from Axanar. One of the things that we need to make very clear is that it's our understanding from what was advertised to the donors that this was indeed from one of the potential Axanar productions. Mike, can you clarify where you saw or was told?
I put the link in the chat room.
Okay.
It'll be in the show notes. But essentially, this particular scene was shot on New Voyages sets as a vignette or two. Actually, there were supposed to be two vignettes shot for, I believe it was the DVDs.
The Axanar DVDs,
yes,
correct?
to accompany the Axanar film.
So this wasn't necessarily a production shot from a New Voyages episode, although it still might be.
I believe that would be correct.
Okay.
That it was this was actually created for Axanar, not part of the main film, but as
one of the DVD extras.
A DVD extra. Okay.
Yes, a material accompanying the DVD.
Okay, and therein lies the thing, and therein lies people's panic, is holy crap, CBS made a mistake, and they brought in a New Voyages snippet as opposed to an Axanar snippet. To our understanding, and how it was advertised to the donors, that is not the case.
Now, they might be saying something different now.
Right. Well, they will be. Well, I can't say that for sure, but if they deny that it was, here's the other thing. If they deny that it was part of the extras that people were promised as part of their donation, they're walking that fine line again, right?
Yeah.
Yes, New Voyages crew, New Voyages actors are in this shot. Are they brought into the case? No. They're really still after Axanar. If they wanted to bring in New Voyages, they would just sue them separately, okay?
Yes.
So don't panic, people, okay? Just don't panic. But I don't think it's a mistake either. I think that CBS used it because they knew that it was going to that it was allegedly a part of what was supposed to come from Axanar's film and DVD.
I think that's true. Okay. It's an ancillary piece, and I think that they wanted to lay a claim on that as well.
Right.
But speaking of people being named, let me just divert into the does for a moment. Now, the does are defined.
The female deers?
Female deers. So this is, they were defined in the original complaint, and that hasn't changed. So I don't want to go into that again. But it's people who are basically involved in all the ancillary business of making a movie. Everything from producing
production,
it, writing it, directing it, sewing costumes, putting makeup on people, building sets, making visual effects. None of those human beings' names are anywhere in this document. Lots
Correct.
of pictures of Gary Graham, but but his name is never said.
Yes.
Lots of pictures of of Tony Todd. There's pictures of Kate Vernon. There's pictures of J.G. Hertzler and Richard Hatch, and none of them are actually mentioned. Are they potential does? You better believe that they are. But who else is? Looking at this document, there's a ton of visual effects on there. I'm sorry, Mr. Richter, but I think you're in this group. And by the way, there's lots of pictures of models. And I'm sorry, Mr. Tarango, but I think you're in this group. But none of you have been named yet.
Right.
It is under my ethical obligation as an attorney, even a retired one,
even on a show, that I'm required to tell you that this is my advice to you, not as a lawyer. This is my advice to you as a person. No representation should be either inferred or implied. But I would urge you, if you think you're going to be named, and if your face is on this, I think you're on that hook. And if your work is on this, I think you're on that hook. If you think you're going to be named in this, I urge you to get separate representation.
And the reason I say this is because I think that your interests
Keyword being
conflict.
separate.
Yes, I think your interests conflict, and I don't think you're going to be getting the freebie pro bono work from Winston and Strawn. God bless them. I think they're doing a bang-up job, and they're doing their best here, but they've got a lot to work with, and this is a very, very uphill climb for them.
Yeah. And one of the things I wanted to, and this is the thing I wanted to get to as far as the general kind of wrap up on this was, that being as it may, I have seen this now. I've seen the complaint. I've read through it myself, and I've used my experience as being a litigation manager for what I do in my career, and I've kind of put that on there as well, going, well, if my defendant, which is normally the side of the law that I tend to work on because I work for an insurance company, and that's what I do, is I actually manage litigation against my insureds, meaning I'm the defendant. I hire attorneys and we manage the litigation for the defense. If this complaint came across my desk, again, I would be evaluating it as to the exposure to my company's policies, whether or not our limits were exposed, meaning would this be a case that I would need to look at settling? To my understanding, in this Axonar case, insurance is not yet involved, and that is because they probably didn't have coverage for this, an entertainment insurance package that would have covered them for claims of IP infringement, most likely because nobody would have written it for them, considering the production that they were doing. They may have had general liability insurance just for slips and falls within their warehouse or studio, whatever you want to call it. But that wouldn't cover claims like this. You usually only cover claims for bodily injury and property damage. Be that as it may, if this came across my desk, I'd be looking at it and I'd be highly, highly concerned. But one of the other things that I thought about was comparing the two complaints, the original complaint and this amended complaint. It's my opinion that they have truly, truly focused the allegations against the two defendants, that being Axonar Productions and Alec Peters, that they have focused the claims to copyright infringement only. Really, and there were a lot of people who thought, well, why aren't they bringing in the trademark? And to be honest with you, they don't need to. That's, in my opinion, I don't think they need to. I don't think they need to muddy the waters with additional claims of trademark infringement as well. Because
they may also be trying to avoid any breadth of a waiver argument that might work at all.
They don't, and that's my thing. They don't need to. They don't need to. All they need to do, and all their intent is here, is to stop the production and get them done. That's really what this is, right? This isn't a shot across the bow anymore. That first complaint was. This is, no, here, this is how you've infringed. We're done playing games now. And yes, were there intentional or were those pictures of people who might be named as does? Yeah, that's another shot across the bow. That is, hey, people, wake up. We are serious. We're going for copyright infringement. There is no ands, ifs, or buts about this. This is a clear thing. We don't have to prove you made money off of it. All we have to do is prove that you infringed on our stuff. And that's where and a few people did ask me, well, why aren't they bringing in the coffee and the books and the
ships,
donor store,
the donor store? Why aren't they bringing all of that in? Why aren't they? And the fact of the matter is, number one, they don't need to, and two, again, why muddy the waters? And three, here's the thing. They get to look like they're taking the high road, folks. They're not going to go after Gary Graham. That's why he wasn't named in this. They're not going at this point in time. Let me make that very clear.
Yeah, they still may.
They still can, but they're trying not to. And really what this is doing is putting the pressure right back on the defense, going, guess what? Now you're open. And here's the thing. Now you're opening yourselves up to separate claims by all of those does, Axonar Productions and Alec Peters. Because if those people get sued, guess who they're going to come around after? They're going to come around your back door and say, excuse me, Alec, you promised me we wouldn't get sued.
Yes. And I want to add also, even though the donor store is not in on this, whatever it's collecting is probably going to end up as damages. So even without putting them out there and, specifically naming ship models and whatnot, that stuff is probably going to end up as damages, or it could potentially end up as damages.
Now, Janet, something I thought was interesting was, I believe it's the last page, is they say, we want a jury trial.
They said that before. That's still there.
Right.
Yes.
But
They have not waived jury trial. That's correct.
But this document is absolutely set up for a jury to be able to look at it and say, "Oh fuck, it's the same thing."
Mind you,
you
we're
want
set in
little
LA,
old lady,
folks.
yeah, you want little old lady in Pasadena or whoever is coming into this who really isn't a Star Trek fan and maybe thinks William Shatner is cute and that's about all they know about this, to look at this and say, "Look at that. He's wearing the same shirt. Look at that. The ship looks pretty much the same. Look at that." Maybe they don't get into the minutia of counting stars like I am, because I'm anal retentive and I'm nuts. But they might look at that and say, "Hey, the letters, they look the same. This looks the same. Why is this here? This is the same. I want, the 12 Angry Men. If you've ever seen that classic film, and I mean the old one, the black and white one,
It's
the one
Jack
with-
Klugman.
and
yeah,
Henry
perfect,
Fonda.
beautiful movie. It's one of the best movies of all time, as far as I'm concerned.
It is.
I want Henry Fonda pounding the fucking table and saying, "This stuff is the same. We don't care about the rest of it. The ancillary parts of it don't matter. It's the same. It's the same. It's the same."
And here's the thing is that if this case, based on this complaint, gets to jury trial, which I highly doubt, but if it does, all of those trivial arguments that are being made now, which is, well, somebody else is doing it, and pointing all of those fingers, those things never and will never get put in front of the jury because they are irrelevant. The only thing the defense gets to do is defend themselves against the specific allegations being made against them in the complaint or any further interrogatories or discovery. What people don't understand is that the law is very, very specific. Somebody files a motion, you get the opportunity to respond to that motion, and then the original complainant or motion filer gets the one last opportunity to tear down your arguments. That's how debate works. One side, the other side, first side. It works the same way in depositions, right? People think, well, it doesn't work the same way. It works the very same way. The questioner gets to ask the questions. The opposing party gets to respond or and ask questions, but they don't get to open up doors that weren't opened by the original question giver. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can't,
definitely.
right? You can only the person who is trying to. The first party asks a bunch of questions. They open a bunch of doors when they ask questions. The second party goes up to try to defend their deponent. They only get to respond or use or reflect the questions that were originally asked. So if those questions weren't originally asked, you don't get to bring them up because that's just how the
shit
law
out of luck.
works. Exactly.
Well, there is something that was brought up in the document that I kind of want to point out. There was an article by 1701 News.
And now you wonder why I told Alec I didn't want to talk to him without an attorney. I didn't want, as much as I appreciate the fact that Mike Hinman got to be in, or I should say Kirk, because this was Kirk's article.
Yeah, it was Kirk's interview.
I didn't want G&T Show's podcast to be the link in that complaint. I really didn't.
And I told his PR guy about that too. That we went through with that, and he said he would have told them don't do any interviews with anybody.
Well, yeah, but we're not as fucking attorneys, and we tried to kind of clue him in, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I told him that, and his PR guy agreed.
And in the document,
but remember, Terry,
we're the bad guys. I know.
Yeah. In the argument, it actually states, and it quotes from Alex's own words. Yeah, we infringed on Star Trek.
But he
But
says,
we do it less.
but
But we do it less than everybody else.
And it's like,
That's not a defense, people.
here's the thing. I remember specifically stealing an avocado from our neighbor's tree because I was with a bunch of people who stole avocados from our neighbor's tree. My mother grabbed my hair, walked me 2 blocks down the street, made me knock on that person's door and apologize for stealing her avocados. And my defense was, but Mom, my friends were doing it too.
Oh,
I think I got an extra ping pong paddle swack for that. Just
Really?
because, yeah, ping pong paddle, man, with the rubber.
Ow.
With the little, yeah. So,
Was it wet?
no,
Because that really hurts.
with my tears. And that was, you know what? She was right. It didn't, stealing for me. The fact is I stole. My mom didn't care about whether or not somebody else stole. That was that child's parents' problem.
Really stole avocados?
Yeah. They were hanging
things.
right over the sidewalk, man. Well,
All right,
I did it all. Well, I lived 4 houses down from a huge avocado grove,
Uh-huh.
and we walked through the grove, and we're like, "Oh man, look, Dad loves avocados." Pluck, pluck.
the guacamole caper.
Guacamole.
All right, let me wrap up here. People were asking what the next steps are and what the timetable is. The defense can either file another motion to dismiss, but I think they're kind of out of arguments. But hey, they might answer. It could be just a general denial, or it could be a very specific one where they get into the weeds. Then we start discovery, and there's going to be a scheduling conference on May 9th. The parties are required a few weeks before to have a plan in place. They want to outline this. They'll put together a calendar. It will have all the specifics on it. If anybody else is going to be named, they've got to be named for this conference. That is in the order. And the conference is in person. So nobody can do this over the phone. This is not going to be faxed. It's not going to be on an email. Zaven or someone else from Loeb and Loeb is going to walk into Judge Klausner's courtroom, and it's going to be there with
a calendar.
defense attorneys as well, and with a calendar.
With the calendar. Really, that's what this is going to be about. So if everybody's thinking, oh, gee, we're going to go down and we're going to show our support, to be honest with you, it's very possible you wouldn't be allowed into the courtroom because there is no public discovery or trial going on at this time. It's merely a scheduling conference, and the judge has the absolute right to lock his door so he doesn't have to be bothered by a bunch of jackasses going XR or CBS. It doesn't matter. The Judge Klausner will probably say, look, all I'm doing is trying to get this shit set for schedule, and I just want to get everybody done. It might take 15 minutes. I kid you not.
Yeah, this can be very fast. If everybody agrees to it and they say, okay, stamp, we're done. They could also potentially at that point settle, or they could even potentially at that point agree to alternative dispute resolution.
Yes.
If documents are filed with the court, then we will get them as soon as they come up on PACER. 24 to 36 hours. That's PACER's fault. It ain't ours. And also I don't check it every second of every day because I kind of have other things going on in my life.
Exactly. So the next thing that's really due is going to be Axanar and Alex's response to the complaint, which again is either a motion to dismiss. It's everything essentially has started over, folks. New complaint, new ability to respond. Again, demur, a motion to dismiss, or an answer, which will probably contain general denials. Although my brain kind of goes, that's going to be an uphill challenge. Okay, go ahead.
Well,
One last
Terry,
word.
just remember, OJ was acquitted.
Of
Yes,
what?
he was.
Of the criminal. But here's the thing, people don't forget.
The civil,
this is civil.
he went.
So what's your burden of proof for civil?
Preponderance of the evidence.
Which means you only have to prove that they were 51% likely to be at fault.
Yep, that's it. This is not criminal. This is not beyond a reasonable doubt or anything of the sort.
And
It's
OJ
a much
didn't get off,
lighter
and-
burden.
Exactly. And OJ did not get off on the civil case.
No, he didn't.
Okay,
Mike, you had
my
something?
last word is Vulcan looks nothing like Iran.
yes.
Yeah,
That was,
and that's the other thing too, is
brought up
that
as
people
well.
are here again. Things can be inspired. Fictional places are typically inspired by real places. That's because the human imagination pulls from things that it tends to know. The fact of the matter is Vulcan is a fictional place, and if you make it look like Vulcan, you're copyright infringing on a fictional thing that may have been inspired by something real. Again, it's the same thing with that the UN logo. It could have been inspired by something that was real, but it is a fictional and copyrightable visual. There you go.
Speaking of Iran,
Yes.
Let's watch a Star Trek movie. Movie news.
didn't Beyond do some more shooting with an Iranian actress this week?
Big news.
Yes.
So yay, we're done with the accent bullshit.
Thank you, Lord.
So
Well
big
done.
news.
Well done,
I,
Counselor.
I still have more to write, but yeah, thank you.
This has been the Janet Show.
Oh, we love her so much.
I appreciate it. Thank
And
you.
now we're so glad you're with us. We really are,
Toddley's
because
Corner.
yeah, it's awesome. Big news out of the new movie, folks. Star Trek Beyond has we're not exactly sure what quote unquote problems they have run into, but they have set schedules for additional shoots for the film that's due to be released in July, and they have retained the fantastic actress, and I'm going to murder her name because I always have. Agdashlu is her last name. Is it Agdashlu? And please forgive me if
I think so, but yeah, not sure.
She is Shora Agdashlu. She is an exceptionally award-winning actress. I mean, I think I don't know if she's won the Oscar. I know she's been damn well.
She was nominated a few years back for, I think, the movie House of Smoke and Fog or something like that.
Oh my God, that's right. Oh, she gives me just the chills. She was in 24. And just an incredible actress. She has been brought in. She's apparently supposed to be the people are calling it either the Federation president or the head of the Federation
Starfleet Command.
leader. We're not exactly sure, but if antennae have gone up, if your Andorian antennae have gone up out of concern, there might be some concern about that. Maybe that they felt that there was some kind of a piece of the story missing. It's nice that they had enough time to be able to kind of interject it.
I mean, that's not really something it's not uncommon. I mean,
No.
It happens. They realize that when they're editing that maybe something needs to be clarified a little bit better, or it would work if that was maybe shot in a different way. It's just these things happen.
I'm actually kind of buoyed by this because it means that if they need to bring in an actress of her reputation for a character of such importance, it may not necessarily be anything really, really big. It may just be a few scenes that they need to tie story together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking it just might be it might be her appearing on a screen, and all she's saying is, "Do
Congratulations."
it." Yeah, something that just like you said, that ties the story
like
together.
Janeway and Nemesis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's probably
something
all
like
it's
that.
going to be. Something of that nature is like, we need you to go investigate this thing, or whatever. Just something that they felt was missing after the fact.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, they certainly pulled from the ARAC on this one. I just have to say they really did.
Fun! Convention news.
now, Terry, I have to tell you,
Hmm.
I have come up with what I am going to cosplay at STLV this year.
Don't get sued.
No, I won't.
Sorry.
Oh my God! I almost spit my coffee.
This is fantastic.
Apologize.
I think it's doable. It's going to take some work, but I think it's doable.
Okay.
I'm going to cosplay as Andy Fark.
Ooh.
Oh my God! I'm sorry. I'm laughing so hard because
Andy
you're like
Fark,
3 feet
if you
shorter. You're like 3 feet shorter
Andy
And a
Clark,
foot
if you
wider.
do not know,
Oh my
is
God.
the drummer on 5-Year Mission,
Yeah.
and a wonderful human being.
That's
Just
funny.
don't let him hear me say that.
Oh my God, too funny, Nick. Well, we do have some other news, and we do really have Kojiro with us because we have a 50 for 50. So I know that we have gone through. By the way, Mike goes through this amazing process of putting together potential links for us to discuss from week to week, and because of the Axonar news and our in-depth analysis of such,
In-depth analysis.
we tend to gloss over a lot of those,
Uterus.
which is kind of a bummer because we've got some really great things to talk about. The links that are, how about this? The links that are in our today's show note or in our list, Mike, throw them in. We're going to just call them into the bucket. If there's some great Star Trek news, there's some great technology news. Even there's some great timelines and gaming news. Again, don't forget we have a wonderful supplemental log that we had with Alex from Timelines that you can still listen to. It was a very, very fun interview. All of those are going to be in the show notes. That way we can kind of start new. Our buds up, Dayton Ward and Kevin Dillmore this week are at the Starfest convention in Denver, and it was nice. I got to see a picture of our friend Chuck Karen from the Denver area with a picture of Dayton Ward. The two of them had never met before, so it was really kind of
God,
fun.
the insane meeting the insane.
I know. Isn't it awesome?
Speaking of which, don't forget, April 1st, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Friday. Yes, I know. But Dayton Ward is going to be joining us for a live supplemental log because he has news for us that the NDA ends and he will be able to discuss. It has to do with the 50th anniversary of Star Trek on April 1st.
Yep. And I have been sworn to that it's not an April Fool's joke.
Yeah, that's what we keep hearing.
Although I'm retaining a sense of skepticism.
Terry, you know that NDAs.
No, I know that you guys love me enough to punk me that hard.
Oh my God.
NDAs do, yes, I get that.
Tell me a Star Trek story. Book news.
We do have some quick book news. Our friend John Jackson Miller, who has written some wonderful Titan books and also some the Star Trek Prey book series. The release dates have been released. We'll make sure that link gets in. All of these links will be in our show notes. Let me see. We talked about the tridimensional chess set once already. And oh my gosh. Oh!
I made something Star Trek. Unofficial Productions.
Our friends at Unofficial Productions. I know I'm bouncing all over the place, Mike, and I apologize. You don't have to worry about bumpers. Our friends over at Star Trek Farragut, their most recent episode is now live. I saw that yesterday. So The Crossing is up and ready to go.
Also, Searcher continues. Their Indiegogo campaign is underway. So congratulations to them.
Congrats. Excellent.
And good luck.
Good luck. All of our friends who are doing all of the Unofficial Productions, our love is with you. We hope everything goes well. Again, in light of everything Axonar, all we can do is say we support you, we love you, but, be careful. I guess. Be careful.
Be alert.
Yeah.
Stay alert. Stay alive. Sorry, I had a basic training flashback.
No, I bet you did.
Oh, hey, guess who's very sleepy from his meds?
You. You have a 50 for 50 to get.
I know. We're there. Tapestry, right?
What's your favorite episode? GNT shows 50 for 50.
Let's see. The number one was
number 24.
Yeah, number is TNG. Number 24 is TNG, season 6, episode 15, Tapestry. Hey, Kojiro, welcome to the show.
I could go to heaven if Q was there.
Is Alan there?
I'm here. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
I'm here.
I was resetting myself from push to talk to continuous feed because
you're going to be typing.
Reasons. So yeah, let's talk about Tapestry. I think Tapestry is a great episode. I was really pleased to see this one hit the it's in the top 25 now that we're going through.
We're halfway done.
We're halfway done. Tapestry is one of those episodes I just love. It's a high concept episode. Of course, it's the one where there's an accident and Picard is in a coma, and he is visited in his mind by Q, who basically tells him that he is dead. And basically, what we turn into is it's a Wonderful Life.
It's
episode.
A Wonderful Life, yeah.
Pretty much. It's like a what if type of episode. And so we go back in time to Picard in the academy, and we
got to see him with hair.
We'd see him with hair, but leading up to a defining moment, which was the bar fight where he gets stabbed through the heart, and
human play dumb shots.
And basically says, well, that was a foolish thing. I wish that hadn't happened. So it did. And it basically, as the title indicates, pulled on a thread and it unraveled the tapestry of his life. And so it's kind of interesting to see how things that we see as mistakes in our past are what make us who we are today, is basically the theme there.
Did his friends from the academy that he was there with, the girl and the guy, did they ever show up in any novels?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't answer to that one because I haven't read a lot of the novels, so I don't know. But anyway, so what's everyone else's take on this episode?
I loved the aftermath where he was shown as the guy who had never taken a risk. That was, oh my God, what a hellish few moments that was. You can be better, and you're just stuck.
You're punctual.
The best thing they could say about him was that they didn't really have anything to say about him.
Yeah, exactly. He was nondescript.
And then once Picard saw that life, God, it was just unbearable for him to realize. And again, it's one of those things where things that we look at in our past as being, oh my God, if that only hadn't happened, but it changes the entire aftermath of what their life will become. And so, again, it's a very high concept episode.
You put a rock in a stream, you alter the flow of the stream.
Yeah, it's one of those episodes that's really not in the Star Trek world. It's more like a Twilight Zone episode in a lot of ways. It's a what if that has nothing to do with the actual overall story arc of the show.
There was not even a B plot to this. This was all this story. I mean, there was no jeopardy, the ship in danger, that kind of thing. It was just all this Q taking him back on this ride, which is really refreshing.
Exactly.
It did give us what what are we saying? It did give us the wonderful screenshot that Matthew Anderson put up above in the chat room, which of course is the Q and Picard in bed scene, which has been the inspiration for some of the most amazing fanfic I've ever read.
All right.
We're not going to get into Slash right now. Okay?
Hell of a guitarist stuff.
It's really great because people use that screenshot and they go, "It's canon, it's canon." I know, it's great. But I actually really appreciated the.
You know what else is canon? Salamanders.
Oh, let's not go there.
I was like, salamanders? You mean the things that melt cheese?
Well, one thing that this episode also kind of
why would a salamander melt cheese?
It's a cooking implement.
You don't know what a salamander is?
No.
It's that thing that when you're in a restaurant and it's like the heating element that you put cheese on top of it and then you slide the plate into it and it heats and melts the cheese on the top.
A sterno?
No, it's like above. It's a salamander.
Huh. What? It's a toaster oven.
This is an educational program, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a big toaster oven.
It's
Yes,
a
that's what it
huge
is.
toaster oven.
I'm
It's an
sorry, Mike, but
industrial
she took
toaster
us
oven.
here.
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
Mikey,
Wow.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Well, I was going to say one thing that this episode kind of sort of does comment on is the idea of near-death experiences. The idea that flashing back on someone's life, on their own life, when they're facing potentially deadly circumstances. I just found that kind of interesting that here they are kind of addressing that in some ways controversial issue through interesting story involving Q, which is this godlike figure, and we have the whole wonderful life aspect where we're dealing with what might have been. So I just find it all kind of interesting. And
Personally, what
when
I
I was
found
in Iraq and I was in a really dangerous situation, I had a life flash before my eyes, and it wasn't even mine. So that really sucked.
So the one thing I actually appreciated about this was because, Picard takes a lot of shit from a lot of fans about being too diplomatic, too safe, too rigid, too whatever. And it was nice to see that that really the reason why he got to the position that he was because he wasn't, that he was a risk taker, that he was an aggressive, what's the word I'm looking for? Is he was, yes, well, he was focused, but he wasn't a pussy. He really wasn't a pussy. And that, we also learned that he has an artificial heart because he gets stabbed by a
I think we knew about the heart before.
The what?
I think we knew about the heart.
Pulaski.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. That is true. But that's right. Pulaski. Yeah.
By the way, I got her in timelines. Yay!
Oh, yay. But the scene where I have to say I got a bit uncomfortable is the scene that Matthew Anderson puts in the chat room, which is the scene where Picard, who realizes that if he had played it safe, he would have become a junior grade science officer as opposed to the captain of a ship, is the kind of forced personnel review that he has with Riker and Troy. And just the level of uncomfort between Riker and Troy being approached at the bar by this pissant junior officer who all of a sudden wants to do more and never has been
delusions
able
of
to
grandeur.
That's
funny.
It's upsetting. But Q also kind of shows, I wouldn't call it affection. I don't mean the bed scene at all.
No.
I mean, and he's very clumsy about it, but he's a bull in a china shop. But at the same time, he really does Picard an enormous service.
But there's also moments in there where he's asking Picard to explain some things that happen, where it's like you say, it's affection, it's genuine concern as to why would you do that? What were you thinking here? What was going through your mind during this time?
And I will always believe that's genuine curiosity.
Q is that buddy that annoys you to no end, but he'd take one for you.
Well, the thing about
I'm
Q,
not sure about that.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Well, the thing about Q though is that as the series progressed, you started to realize that, like you said, Q wasn't really there to be malicious. Every time he reappears, it's usually like, I don't know, to do a service
to
challenge,
challenge,
to challenge or something. I mean, even episodes which I think are a little bit silly, like the one, the Cupid one, where they become Robin Hood characters and everything.
You said something and I lost it in my drunken genius.
Well, but
he was servicing Picard?
Yes, that's exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
No, but he comes forward and shows Picard different things about, I mean, like I said, the Cupid episode, it's like he's concerned about Picard's love relationship and is showing him a different aspect of the people that are around him. So, it seems to me that as much as he's an annoyance, he's actually kind of being helpful for most part. And even in the bigger scheme of things, where you start with the first episode and the last episode of the trial of humanity and everything like that. It does seem like it has a certain amount of jeopardy to it, but at the same time, it's almost like it has a sense of, you know what, we're gonna hold the mirror up a little bit, and you can see that you're not all that it is, but there's still things out there that you're capable of, that you can do better.
Exactly. I'm with you. That's why Q is one of my favorite characters, because as I always believe that kind of key theory to Canada setup, which is the Q need the Federation, the Q figure out that there's the missing piece, and that the Federation might be it.
I always got the feeling that Q was out there searching the universe for, like you said, maybe to help the Continuum make their next step, and they need some help in understanding. And they start to see that in the humans. And so while they go out and they test all these different species, and Q goes out and annoys and does things to he's testing them, and he finds a possible match in humanity, and that's why he keeps coming back. And so I almost see that there's an interest there, that they see something in humanity they haven't seen in any other species, and that's why it keeps testing.
And besides, he brought puppies. Okay.
Puppy. Anyway, so anything else on the Tapestry?
I think we're good.
Good. Well, the next one was number 24, and that's TOS.
No, 23.
I'm sorry, 23. See, I'm not even looking. I'm trying to do this from memory. 23, season 2, episode 5, Amok Time.
The first time we see Vulcan.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Vulcan? It's where we get
you were going with that, Nick.
It's where we need to prang. Hi to prang. Yeah.
So, do I need to do a plot synopsis here, or does everybody know it? We all know this episode.
Spock's got Ponfar. He throws food in the hallway. He scares Christine. They go to Vulcan. He fights Kirk.
Yep.
Who
Kills
pretends
Kirk.
to die.
Well,
Jim,
as far as Spock knows, he does kill Kirk, and we find out that McCoy pulled his medical voodoo.
Right.
So I have to ask. I'm just gonna clear this right up right up front first, because we got a message from Mike last night, which was you hated the message. Tell me why, Mike.
That ultimately, in the end, nature will trump logic, and that it's okay to murder, it's okay to rape, it's okay to do all of these things, all of these bad things
raping?
In Voyager, when
we're not talking Voyager, we're talking Amok Time. I know,
but
that Ponfar trumps logic, and that you can do anything under Ponfar.
All right, Mike, let me ask you a question. This is an honest question.
Yeah.
You don't think that the Klingons engage in rape?
It's never been mentioned.
It's never. I don't recall.
I think they
but
did.
we have seen Spock. We have seen Spock rape Valeris mentally. We have seen what's his name in Voyager try to take advantage of B'Elanna. So, and it's all under the guise of Ponfar. Nature, in the message from this that I take from this story, is that nature will always ultimately trump logic, and that in the end we are all creatures of nature, and in the end we have no real free will. That it's okay to go around murdering and raping and doing whatever the hell we want.
They didn't say. First of all, when Torek did that, no one said it was okay.
No, it wasn't okay.
Said it was okay. Second of all, if you'll notice in Amok Time, the Vulcans have very elaborate rituals, and this is the kind of the
accepted.
But it's also the last straw to go through, because she forced the challenge.
T'Pring did.
Yes, the very lovely T'Pring.
It's a classic episode.
Yeah.
Sorry to put a downer on everyone.
No, I
That's
think
just
it's
how
great.
I just find it interesting
I
to see Klingon talking about anybody else's culture.
No, it's
Well, we had talked about tribbles and how genocidal Scotty's actions were, and I
That's
thought
true. So
in
basically,
that
you're
same-
saying that the
in that
Vulcans
same
are just
vein,
rapists.
Well, I think the other thing though here is that the Vulcans recognize that this is to them it's almost a distasteful part of their being.
Oh,
You know,
remember,
I
they don't
mean,
even discuss it with anyone.
They don't discuss it.
Yes.
Spock is highly embarrassed by this whole by being in this position. So
This is puberty on steroids.
yeah, it's a byproduct of their biology, but they find it disgusting, and they find it, and so that's why they've highly ritualized it, so that even they can find a way to accept it in their culture. That's kind of the way I always saw it. And you're right. There's a lot of episodes where we see Pon farr gone wild, but I mean, I think
that's a Hollow novel.
yes,
Fort Lauderdale.
in Fort Lauderdale.
Girls of Pon farr.
girls of Pon.
semantic shenanigans.
Yes. But there are some significant things about this episode too. I mean, obviously we see our first image of Vulcan, and we get we get a real taste of what Vulcan culture can be like, and that's fascinating. I mean, it's the first time I think we really see these major characters explore that
and remember,
aspect.
this was the first episode of season 2. So you talk about a bang. You're opening going to Vulcan. That's huge back then.
Right. Yeah. I know it's originally said as it's episode 5, but it was aired as the opening episode for that season. They did them out of order. And you're right. It brought the show back for a season with a real bang.
And with that visit to Vulcan. Oh, pardon me. Hold on.
Vicodin burp, everyone. Vicodin burp.
No, it was a yawn.
Huh?
With that visit to Vulcan, that may have opened up the Star Trek universe more than any of their explorations in season 1 by visiting such a core member world.
Member planet,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
You get to know Spock in a way that you never would have.
That's true.
And then
some women really wanted to.
And then from a
that's
production aspect too, I believe this is the episode where that classic fight music is first used.
Yep.
And again, it's copied later on because as they had budget problems, they weren't, they kept reusing their retreading a lot of their stuff. But that classic fight music that we all associate to the original series was initiated in this episode.
I remember seeing this episode the first time, and I kind of laughed because I always thought to myself, for as logical as the Vulcans thought they were, the fact of the matter is they still couldn't tell the truth. They still couldn't tell the truth with each other, and that is, dude, I don't fucking love you, and I'm gonna go marry somebody else. That somehow there were such straight things going on that I thought, man, the Vulcans are fucked up. Really.
And that's why people who want to bitch about Enterprise, they were just as fucked up in Star Trek as they were in Enterprise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, what we had recently seen, we saw Kirshara, where Koss tells T'Pol, "I release you from your obligation." Mm-hmm. So they could have divorced. Why the hell did they go through all this mishigas?
Because women are evil.
No.
Well, in Enterprise, you have to keep in mind the context of Vulcan society up to that point. It wasn't as defined as after the Kishara was found.
That's true too.
So
definitely,
it was open to a lot more interpretation and whatnot. So therefore, they were being influenced by Romulans. So there was a lot of other things going on that their society was probably more open to.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I thoroughly agree. We need to kind of move on. We do have Kojiro here because last week, I believe we had the last Enterprise episode making its appearance in our top 50.
We did.
50.
We did.
So
and
you've got a little do something.
Well, it's not a lot, but as series start to become exhausted on the list, I wanted to kind of go through some stuff without, because I didn't want to really reveal upcoming episodes. But now that Enterprise is gone from the list, there is some interesting things when I look at the stats. Their highest overall episode, which we had last week, was number 25, Kishara. Its lowest overall episode was number 692 out of 694, which we've already recognized when we did our bottom 10, which was These Are the Voyages. But here's an interesting thing. I looked at the median scores of the different series, and Enterprise gets derided a lot, and I mean, it didn't last as long as the other shows. There were certain continuity issues that people didn't like, or the certain production values that they didn't like, or where the story was going. Surprisingly, though, when I looked at the mean scores of all the series. I'll just count these up. Number 5, Voyager had the lowest mean at 3.55 out of 5 points.
And this is the rating that they got, correct?
The rating. I took all the episodes and averaged and found the median scores. And the mean score for Voyager was 3.55. TOS was the next one at 3.63. TNG at 3.65. DS9 at 3.78. Enterprise actually scored the highest mean scores for all its episodes at 3.94, just a little bit less than a 4, which would be, when we had excellent, good, okay. So it was interesting that Enterprise had more consistency in their episodes and less of a variety as people perceived it in the poll.
So really what we can take from that is that Enterprise, the people who rated Enterprise episodes rated them consistently higher than the fans or than any other show.
That is true. Yes. And when you look at the median, or the median, which is the center of all of the, like where half the scores would be above it and half the scores would be below it, they also had the highest median at 4.02, which was pretty high.
Wow.
TOS actually came in the lowest with 3.54.
So you're saying that according to our survey, in terms of overall series, Enterprise is the best series. Am I interpreting that correctly?
As people graded it, they graded it higher than the other series, generally on average. So I thought that was interesting.
I did too. That is interesting, especially because I would have thought that it might have been DS9. However, it might have been had DS9 only been 4 seasons.
Right. I was going to say, does 4 seasons versus 7 have an impact on this?
Well, and that's a good point, because I think the longer the series go on, the more chance you have those episodes and story arcs that are like, oh, come on, Although, let's face it, Enterprise had a few of those.
Seasons, so
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but you're right.
But it's also 50 years old.
But I think that might be more of an indication, too, of the production value. After a while, you see the slicker seasons, and you'll go back and look at TOS and go, wow, the production value is just not there.
And cheese.
Yeah, and a lot more cheese, a lot more drama. We already know the top 10 or the episodes that made the list, which were the 3 episodes of the Vulcan arc that they had there on Vulcan, the Kishara, was it Awakening, the Forge? I did them out of order, but scored very high. And then there were some other key episodes, but I wanted to point out some other episodes. These are actually what I kind of consider my own favorites from Enterprise that didn't make the top 50. I was actually surprised that In a Mirror Darkly didn't make it. And I like that one a lot because it's so high concept.
Brings long hair to Paul.
Yeah. But keying into an original series episode, but not really being derivative from it. I mean, it was its own episode. I tend to not like the mirror episode shows. I think, for example, DS9 went to that well way too often. That's a personal opinion. But in this case, I really like the way they handled it and the way they did it. Plus, the production value of the episode was awesome because they start with a different opening.
Opening, right? The entire credits and everything were
Everything
different.
is
That was a
completely
kicker.
different.
Wasn't it?
It was a mirror universe episode in every aspect. So I thought that was a very, I thought that was incredible. It was just a shame that they did something like that. It was the second or third to the last episode of the series. Again, the shame of Enterprise is that it was canceled right when it was about to become good. I mean, really take off.
Really good.
It was really going to take off. Another episode that I really loved that I was surprised didn't make it on the list was the Andorian incident, which is the one where they first introduced the Andorians in the Enterprise series.
Pajem.
It's the Pajem episode.
It's when
where
they discover the listening post.
Yeah, exactly. It's also the introduction of Shran, which, again, a recurring character that I thought was phenomenal. It would have been great to have seen that character continue in a fifth season. Another one that didn't make the top 50, which I was really surprised about, because this tends to be a favorite of a lot of people, is Carbon Creek.
Yeah.
That one gets mixed reviews. I love it. I love it so much, but I know people that loathe it.
I have a question.
It's not necessarily. I think it's because it's not a Star Trek episode in a lot of ways. It's the Star Trek
I think
elements,
it is.
but it's got the elements of it, but it's not your usual future. I mean, we're seeing a historical almost.
And I love the ending where is she telling the truth or not, and then she goes into
pulls out
her,
that purse. Oh my
she pulls
god!
out the purse. Yeah.
Mike, you had a question.
Mike, you were going to say something.
I'm wondering what Enterprise episode barely missed the top 50. So which one just barely missed it?
At number 51 was The Expanse.
Oh, you start that. Interesting. And there also wasn't any Shuttlepod 1, which a lot of people like.
Oh,
That's
another great episode.
Shuttlepod 1 ended up 105 on the overall list.
Wow.
But it was the 25th ranked Enterprise episode.
Okay.
So, and again, like Carbon Creek, we were just talking about, it ranked 129. So it was actually down there a little bit. There's another episode that is kind of a personal favorite. I don't think this is as popular with a lot of people. It actually ranked number 241st in the overall list. Is E2.
Right.
I love that episode.
And I like it because, again, I love high concept episodes. And this is the one where they basically run into an anomaly and an Enterprise appears, an NX-01, that's like 100 years old.
It's the generational ship.
It's the generational ship, and it's actually their descendants who were sent back 120 years or something, and they lived up to this point. And it's kind of interesting because we see their descendants. We see a little bit of a history of what they would become. We actually see
Phlox was a player.
Yeah, we actually see an elderly T'Pol.
Yeah.
Because as Vulcans live longer, she actually survived that whole period. So we get to see that connection.
It's good to see you, Jonathan.
I just thought it was a great episode because there's one element to it that's kind of fascinating is that, they understand that there may be a disruption to their timeline, and the captain, who I believe is a descendant of T'Pol and Trip. Does some things to kind of prevent the change of the timeline, and it mirrors a lot of the things that Archer does in prior episodes. For example, stealing technology from another source in order to better their own. So it's kind of interesting that there's actually a little bit of a reflection there for some of the characters to go, hey, some of the actions we did just got done to us, and that wasn't cool.
I still stand by my thought that one of the things that is very overlooked in Enterprise is that Jolene Blalock was a new actress, and watching her grow as an actress and bringing so much depth to T'Pol and taking T'Pol from being a character I was like, to probably the character that I most, I don't want to say identified because that's not it, but cared about the most. Her and Trip, I actually cared about.
Yeah.
And she did, much like Jerry Ryan with Seven, subtle little things that made the character who she was. And I just don't think she gets the credit.
Well, I think that when you look at the entire canon of shows, there are certain actors who really nailed the essence of not just the character, but the culture that they come from. And, obviously, Leonard Nimoy was Spock. I think that Mark Leonard as Sarek
Oh my God, yes.
definitely did that as well.
The
I would
only
even
word
say
that I ever think of with Mark Leonard is dignified. It's anytime Sarek is on, if you want the definition of dignity, it's Sarek.
But at the same time, he did subtle things that still showed his emotion and everything. And again,
and Gary Graham did as well.
And I was just going to say, Saval, Gary Graham and Saval, he did the same thing. And I want to say that Jolene Blalock did the same thing with T'Pol. I think those four really gave us that rich Vulcan characterization that not only nailed an individual, but also nailed the culture.
And to be very fair, Tuvok, Tim Russ.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I shouldn't have let that out because you're right. I think his Tuvok was phenomenal.
He's my favorite Vulcan. He really is.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that because, I was like, oh, a Vulcan, blah, blah. But Tuvok, his interactions with Neelix gave us more, with the exasperation and everything. I'm sorry, when he did the little foot dance.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That meant more than anything else.
Right.
So what else?
And then there's one last episode that I like. I know it's probably the most polarizing episode of the series, and that's Dear Doctor. And I know that a lot of people...
I do like it, too.
Some people hate it.
Very
some people
cerebral.
like it. I know that it... I think what's significant about the episode is that it's very early in the series. I think it's the 6th episode of the entire series. It's the first time we see that element about the Prime Directive, and the Prime Directive is not defined at this point, but the concept of it is there. And the idea is that, you know what? This is a tough decision, and neither decision is really good. Is going to create some problem. Either you help the dominant species, and that squelches the other one, or you don't help them and allow nature to take its course, but you again condemn an entire race to extinction.
Let's not get started on this.
I knew it was going to be a little bit derisive
because Phlox is a fucking genocidal.
No, he's not.
He would have been either way.
He would have been either way, and I think that's maybe something that's not quite there. It was interesting when I was researching the episode, and there was actually a different ending, and it was actually modified by the writers in the suits at the end because they didn't like the original ending, and they came up with this ending, which was kind of...
And where did this come in on our...
in the overall...
Yeah.
You know what? I got to go back and look. Hold on just a second.
This really is
for being one of the most controversial episodes that came out of Enterprise. Maybe it was because it was so polarizing. I bet it came out in the middle of the road. Either people loved it or hated it.
It was very middle of the road. It was of the 90-some episodes, it was number 54 in Enterprise.
Perfect, right in the middle.
And in the bigger canon, it was number 248.
So a little bit higher than middle.
But here's another thing. When you look at the scores, it scored a lot of excellence and it scored a lot of not so muches. It was very polarizing. It's one of the most polarized episodes people either liked it or they didn't like it.
Of any series?
Of Enterprise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know what was the most polarized episode in the entire thing?
You know what? I'll have to do a little research on that, so I'll get back to you.
That'd be interesting to see.
That'd be fun.
So
cool.
So that's kind of it on Enterprise. We're not going to see them again in the top 50. We're done with them. I know.
And thank you, Alan, for all the work with this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and it's been fun.
So what do we get to watch for next week?
So next week, usually I just hand you the little sheet of paper and you have it already, but I didn't do that.
You're on the show, baby.
I'm actually on the show. I'm on the show. Hold on a second. Let me get to the list here.
And if you don't know what that was from, that was a Big Chill.
Yeah, that was a Big Chill moment. Sorry. Okay, so we just did Amok Time and Tapestry, so now we're up to number 22.
Big Chill. This is boomer masturbation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a scene almost fire.
Okay, we ready? Number 22 will be a DS9 episode. It's season 3, episode 21. The Die is Cast.
Ooh. I became Merv Griffin there. Ooh.
Hey. And then number 21 is a TNG episode, season 6, episode 4, Relics.
Really?
Oh.
Yes.
No bloody A, B, C, or D.
D.
You know what, Terry? You sound surprised. Did you expect it to be higher?
No, I actually expected it not to make the list.
Oh,
Oh,
I think
no,
too many people love Scotty.
Yeah.
Too many people love Scotty, and it's an emotional episode. That talk with him, and well, we can talk about it next week.
Yeah,
but
we'll
when
talk
they
about
talk
it
in the
next week.
holodeck,
Yeah.
that scene is just so fantastic.
One observation about the episodes we just discussed, they're very character driven.
Yes.
Extremely. Yeah.
Very, very good to point out, Mike. That is very true. But then again, I think that's what all Star Trek is at its best, and I think that's why people listen to the
No,
show.
Star Trek at its best is a war story, Terry. That's the Trek everybody wants.
Pew pew, baby. Pew pew.
Oh my God, Mike, do we have any announcements?
I have something to say. Announcements.
I think we kind of got through a lot of it.
Let's see, Alex Nod Engel. We interviewed him this week from Star Trek Timelines. So check that out. Link will be in the show notes as well as on our page. Straight Out Gallifrey, we're going to be recording an episode next week with James Kerwin. Love the Honorable James Kerwin. And I wrote words.
And you wrote words. And we do want to send our congratulations to everybody at the Antaeus Theater Company in Glendale, California, and congratulate them on the success of their Kickstarter. Armin Shimmerman and Katie Swink, this is the theater company that they are involved with, and we would really like to say congrats. I know that we were a little worried, but the beauty was there's still a couple days left. They are more than happy to take additional donations to help them tie some things up. But it looks like it's a go. So congrats to the people. Yeah, and Nick is about to pass out on us.
Good luck to Star Trek Continues.
And congrats to everybody at Farragut as well.
And one more quick observation, as I had mentioned, I made words, but I wonder, is anyone else in a similar boat than I am? I am not writing fan fiction at this point. I'm kind of too scared to.
Huh, why?
I'm curious to see what happens from the Axanar, and I know that
you're a sensitive man.
That
you're a big sensitive Klingon. I love you.
He's a Salot.
He's not that fuzzy.
See, for me,
have you seen him?
I'm not writing fan fiction mainly because I'm trying to push more in the wholly original direction. Actually,
good for you.
So
Mike, write your fan fiction. It's fine. They're not going to come after you. You're not selling it.
Yeah, you're going to be fine.
Are you there?
I wouldn't worry about it. We lost him.
Did we lose
him?
you?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
You're not. They're not going to come after you. You're not selling it.
But here's the thing. What Mike is expressing is exactly what a lot of other people are.
Oh yeah.
As well.
And like the cosplay. It's like the
why I
cosplay
brought it
question.
up.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like the cosplay question.
Exactly. So I think that Axanar brought up a lot of things that people are now beginning to learn about with regard to copyright and trademark, and really how far you have to push it for a big corporations like CBS and Paramount to say, okay, look, no, you can't do that. What they have done, to be honest with you, is zero surprising to me. Zero. There is zero surprise about what's going on with Axanar, because the things that Axanar and its production personnel were doing were far outside the norm of what had been going on for the past, no lie, 50 years. People have been writing fan fiction for decades or longer. Just because it's about television or a television show. To be honest with you, people have written things about plays or whatever since time immemorial. It's a piece of self-expression that grows out of your love for a particular story or universe. Don't let yourself be held up because you fear that you're going to be sued. As long as you keep in mind that what you're doing is that what you're doing is a matter of self-expression, that you're not doing it to compete with or make money off of. Because again, that's really what generates a lot of this is like, if you go out to compete and say, I can make a better Star Trek tale than the people who own Star Trek, then you're going to get in trouble. If what you're doing is making a great Star Trek story and you're sharing it with everybody, but you're not hurting the, just have fun. Don't forget to have fun. It's okay. I think that, CBS, here's the thing. CBS and any other author or writer or creator or anything, that's what our concern, we talked a few weeks ago. The concern is that we don't want to see a precedent set to where anybody who owns a copyright or a trademark now has to do preventive searches to keep people from infringing on their copyright.
That is what I'm scared of.
Right. And I think that it would be, and I really do have enough faith in the justice system to believe that would never happen.
I don't think anybody wants the party to end. It's just that they don't want to be competed with directly in certainly such a blatant manner, and that's
and in their own backyard in Hollywood.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of the motivation behind it.
I agree.
I think you're gonna be okay.
I think you're gonna be okay. And I think cosplayers, again, you're going out and having fun. To be honest with you, this is my own personal opinion, and that is, when you go out and cosplay as a particular character, and you're showing a deference and a love to the IP that you're celebrating.
Andy Farr.
That is in and of itself kind of an advertisement for the IP that you are celebrating. You're helping keep that IP alive, which is only a benefit for the copyright holder. Again, my own opinion. If, however, you chose to use that in order to directly compete with the IP that you think you're celebrating, but really you're making a living off of, when you weren't hired by the IP holder or licensed to do so, then you're infringing on the copyright. Keep that in mind. Are you an employee? Then don't make money off of it as if you were. Got it? Did you buy a license? No? Then don't make money, because here's the thing. Money has a lot to do with it. And that is, if you are a person who wants to make money off of Star Trek, do yourself a favor. Go through the process of getting a license to sell and do what you want. Some of these things they're not going to give you a license for. Why? Because they already do it themselves. They already make a television show. They already make movies. They're not going to license somebody else to do it. They're just not. They're not going to license fan fiction. Why? Because they fucking own Simon & Schuster, who license the ability to write and have these wonderful authors like David Mack and Dayton Ward and Kevin Dillmore and James Swallow and John Jackson Miller and all of these people who are licensed to make official Star Trek books. Bye Bye Robot went out of their way to be able to sell licensed Star Trek art. So the fact of the matter is, if you don't have a license, don't fucking make money off of it, because all you're doing is taking down and watering down the license that people have already purchased. CBS is actually protecting their license holders by doing this as well. And that's their job. When you buy a license from an IP holder in order to sell your wares, you expect that the person that you bought the license from is going to protect the value of that license. Do you get it? That's what I think Axanar crossed the line with, is that they held themselves out to be a professional Star Trek movie, which waters down their own property. And that's where they had to draw the line. So if you want to do something, and if you want to make money off of somebody else's IP, go get official permission. And official permission is buying a license. There you go. Have fun with it. If you're going to be a cosplayer, go have fun in cosplay. If you're going to be a professional cosplayer, Talk to a lawyer and see what you can do about being a professional representative like Jonathan Frakes did for Marvel Comics when he was Mr. Captain America at conventions. He was the official Captain America. Do you get it? Good. All right.
Thanks.
All right, let's.
There's a fox in
wrap it
a
up.
dryer.
It's Firefox.
It's very cute. Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
I love you guys. Kojiro, thank you so much for joining
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you for having me on.
It was a blast. We know we had a lot to talk about. The answer is due in 20 days?
I believe
Or are they
so.
getting in 30, something like that. It's either 20 or 30. I can never remember in federal court. And we'll probably not talk a whole lot about that unless you have specific questions. We, again, may not be able to answer. So there you go. You can reach us at hosts@gntshow.com. You can follow me on Twitter at TerryLynn S. That's TerryLynns as in Sam. Everybody else, where can they follow you?
For serious stuff, it's Shrinking Jess. Leave off the last S for savings, and for fanfic kind of silliness, Jespa Trek Fan Fi. Thank you.
Nick, are you still awake? Did we lose him?
He's at Gettysburg 7.
He's at Gettysburg 7, the number 7.
And I'm Ceridium STO on Twitter and something misspelled on Facebook.
You'll find
And
him.
Kojiro, where can people follow you?
I'm not sure where people can follow me. I'm on Twitter as Cohero Vance, also MFABFD.
There you go. And what does the MFABFD stand for? So people remember.
Master of Fine Arts, big frickin' deal.
Oh, you could have said fucking. It's okay.
Oh, I forgot. We have that.
We're an adult
Okay.
show. We can do that.
Janice sure pushed the envelope
What?
this week.
Yeah.
Sorry.
At Gettysburg 7. Good night, Nick.
Gettysburg says my Twitter.
All right.
night,
Good night.
What about it?
Good night.
Good
Nick.
night.
Say goodnight, Nick.
Say good night, Nick.
Joe Untrunick. What?
Okay.
Kabla.
That's it. Okay.
Take your nanoprobes and a sweater when you go out assimilating people. I worry.
Oh, we had that request, Janet.
What?
The all Jewish Borg show.
Oh, that's right. Some other time. Thank you.
All right, you guys. That's it till next week. Live long and prosper.
Kabla.
Joe Untrue.
See you in a week.
Joe Untrue.
Music for the GNT show is provided by 5 Year Mission, Enterprise Blues Band, Warp 11, Andrew Allen, and Greth Thor. The GNT show is a BLB production.
Move ahead, walk back to 10. Put a mini skirt on my yo man. Represent the human race. And we make this a happy place. To fully go where no man's gone before. I think I sang that line once before, but I'm not too sure. We'll be so happy, can't you see? A zero-G community. Gonna travel to new worlds. Beam on down and meet some green girls. Gonna see what we can see. A fancy free galaxy. To only go where no man's gone before. I think I sang that line Zero G.